The Son of God goes forth to war, a kingly crown to gain. His blood-red banner streams afar. Who follows in his train? Who best can drink his cup of woe, triumphant over pain? Who patient bears his cross below? He follows in his train. The martyr first, whose eagle eye could pierce beyond the grave, who saw his master in the sky and called on him to say, like him with pardon on his tongue, in this of mortal pain. He prayed for them that did the wrong, who follows in his train. The glorious man, the chosen few, on whom the Spirit came. 12 valiant saints, their hope they knew, and marked the cross and flame. They met the tyrant's brandished steel, the lion's gory mane. They bowed their necks, the death to feel, who follows in their train. A noble army, men and boys, the matron and the maid, around the Savior's throne rejoice, in robes of light array. They climb the steep ascent of heaven, through peril, toil, and pain. Oh God, to us may grace begin, to follow in their train.
Bless the man that fears Jehovah, and that walketh in his ways. Thou shalt eat of thy hands' labor, and be prospered all thy days. Like a vine with fruit abounding, in thy house thy wife is found. And like olive plants by children, compassing thy table round. And like olive plants by children, compassing thy table round.
On him that fears Jehovah shall his blessedness attend. For Jehovah out of Zion shall to thee his blessing send. Thou shalt see Jerusalem prosper all thy days, till life shall see.
Thou shalt see thy children's children, unto Israel be
right. LBP. Hallelujah. Sanctify the Lord, he said. To the word we go. Let him be your fear, let him be your dread. Bend, break, burn, and blow. To the testimony and law. To the word we go. If they don't speak this word, they have no light at all. Bend, break, burn, and blow. A stone of stumbling and rock of offense. To the word we go. Against this snare there is no defense. Bend, break, burn, and blow. Many among them will stumble and fall. To the word we go. Bind up the word behind a great wall. Bend, break, burn, and blow. To the testimony and law. To the word we go. If they don't speak this word, they have no light at all. Bend, break, burn, and blow. So I will wait upon the Lord. To the word we go. To seek the one who must be adored. Bend, break, burn, and blow. Here I am and the children you gave. To the word we go. A sign that you have promised to save. Bend, break, burn, and blow. Shall we go to the wizards that chirp? To the word we go. The words of the prophets they want to usurp. Bend, break, burn, and blow. To the testimony and law. To the word we go. If they don't speak this word, they have no light at all. Bend, break,
Lord, please bless this show.
Amen.
do not feast on his
Hey, people can call in. You got that all figured out?
No.
There's an 800 number there. Oh, is that the TV commercial?
Awesome. Their anguish great, their troubles are
I wish.
Bend, break, burn, and blow. To the testimony and
When we go live.
to the word we go. If they don't speak this word, they have no light at all.
We're live now.
Yeah.
I'm shouting out orders right now.
Yeah, you are.
Thank you for telling me.
Yeah, just so you know.
Are we ready? Are we there?
You need more music?
No. Hey, y'all. Welcome to Cross Politic on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. It's election night, and everyone's going to be disappointed tonight. That's basically what's going to happen.
Hey.
Because Jesus is our Savior, and Democrats are already winning in Virginia. Of course, Pastor Toby Chalk Knox, and we also have Tim Clark in the studio. If you guys know
Who is he?
If you guys know anything about Tim's he's seen a lot over 30 years. That's what his bio says.
Okay.
He's seen
That's
a
where it
lot.
starts at.
From playing a key role in electing a president. That was President Trump, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, President Trump.
Really?
You were the head of California under Trump's campaign.
Started out in California, and then after the primary, I took the Southwest U.S.
Southwest.
Pull that mic
there
right
you
up to your
go.
mouth there,
Eat
sir.
it.
Am I too far?
Yeah,
Eat it,
just
sir.
all the way up there. Yeah, if you can, just yank on that thing.
Okay, so and then you were building public awareness on that, defining specific target markets and building brands within those markets. Tim has a unique breadth of experience that allows him to see the entire communication landscape and to create strategies that leverage your company's strengths within the marketplace. Tim currently serves as president and CEO of Clark Strategy. Is that based off your last name?
No.
Clark Strategy.
Completely unrelated.
Clark Strategies Group, a branding and messaging firm. He's also a partner at Yosemite Strategies, one of the Western U.S. premier candidate and issue advocacy firms. Tim and Maya, is that how you say it? Maya? It's not spelled that way, but Tim and Maya Clark have been married for 34 years.
We're sorry, Maya.
And are blessed with 5 daughters. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, I got
Cross
update.
Politics.
35 years. I don't want to get in trouble.
Ooh.
This is an old bio.
That's an old bio.
Well,
You guys baptize babies?
Well, of course.
Oh, well, praise
Yeah.
God.
Who do you think Tim is?
Well,
He runs Trump's presidential campaign in California,
Do you-
and he baptized babies.
Okay.
I mean, I don't baptize the baby.
What? No, I get it.
Okay.
Got it. So
And Trump, Knox is like, this is a unicorn. He's from California. He's
when you said
he's in
California,
politics.
I had questions.
Yeah.
Litmus test went up. So, what did you do for Trump?
Nothing.
Okay. I thought you were incremental. Don't do me
so,
like that.
So I started out. They came to California and said we need help in the 2016 primary. They were running 3 points out of Ted Cruz, and they said I've never lost a statewide primary. They said you want to take Trump's campaign in California. I said yeah, I'll take the primary. Here are my rules: is you keep the circus out of my state, and I get a $20 million budget. And I got a call back 3 days later from Paul Manafort. Says here's the good news: we keep the circus out of your state. Here's the bad news. And you hear this voice in the background. You're not getting your $20 million. Okay. So we ran that, won everything, got him the nomination. And then I took over the Southwest U.S., states like Texas.
Promised land.
Yep. Promised land. There you go. And Utah, we had a problem. We had a third-party candidate there. And then New Mexico and on down the line.
Okay.
After that, I got a call saying you're coming to the White House. And I said, I'm a political consultant. I don't do that. Said, you do not tell this president-elect no.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. All right. I'm in. So I went out there as the White House liaison at Health and Human Services, which means I staffed the agency for the president. And then I went over to the White House and worked in his domestic policy council and in the executive office of the president, senior advisor. And then I left for a little bit, went to work for Justice Thomas's wife on some projects. And then I came back and went to work at the Department of Commerce.
wow.
Justice Thomas's wife. That's cool.
A strange story is, so I'm at their house because that's where her office is.
Mhm.
I'm in the kitchen, right? And it's a very casual kitchen. You're like, I wonder what's in the fridge. Is there anything to eat? And out comes this elderly gentleman in a polo shirt, and it's Justice Clarence Thomas.
Yeah.
Says, hi, how are you? I'm Clarence. I said, hi.
I know who you are.
Yeah.
I'm Tim.
Yeah.
And I was just going to rummage around in your refrigerator.
Yeah. Wondering what you guys got any leftovers in there. No, it was surreal. And he said, well, you and my wife are working on saving democracy. Just don't tell me what you're doing because I can't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. So are we taking questions tonight?
So
Yeah.
tonight's just kind of an open buffet.
Yeah.
So if you want to, I'll be following all the questions in the comments. We have them all right here. Some people are already here right now. Everybody's wondering what song those are. Those are my songs that I made on AI, people, if you must know.
Well, but the Bible's words.
Yes. Yeah. I did steal somebody else's words too. Like, the word is not mine. But
I just
yeah,
want everybody to know.
Yeah.
Knox did not even share those things with us
I did.
until tonight.
No, that's not true.
When did you share them with us?
One of those.
Look at your text messages.
He shared them. He did share them.
I did. I said, guys, make sure these are loaded on. So I want everybody to hear them ahead of time.
Today?
Yeah, no, this is 2 days ago. But you're a pastor. You got stuff to do. I understand. I don't. I don't mind. It doesn't hurt my feelings at all. Anyway, if you want to leave a comment, we got all the comments from YouTube, from X, from Facebook. We're actually streaming on Facebook, which we don't normally do right now.
But election night.
But on election night, we are going to. So there are a ton of people watching. We will make sure that Tim answers all of your questions, since he probably will have the answers.
Since he hung out with Clarence Thomas in his kitchen.
That's right. And not just him, but we also have Greg Moore, who's here with us as well. And
He'll be here
from
with us.
Dead
Oh,
Man
he's already
Walking.
here.
Yeah, he's here.
Oh, he
And
came in. Rod Martin's coming
Rod
in,
Martin
and-
is here as well.
There we go.
So we got our guys here with us.
And then and then Tim Clark in the studio. And then throughout the night, we got Joseph Backholm coming in, David Bahnsen, Jeff Evans from Minneapolis.
Yeah.
We have Dorothy Moon, Idaho chair,
Okay.
likely coming in towards the end.
Is that coming in the studio or just
No.
Okay.
No, she's down in Boise. So likely coming in towards the end, and then maybe a couple others.
Maybe a
if-
couple others.
Well, if people are listening, and there's kind of a savvy political expert listening right now, I would like to talk to someone in Pennsylvania or New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah. If
Why?
if they can come, because I want to know what's going on. Oh yeah, I have a print up for that. Anna, I got that print up you brought to me, and I didn't bring it up here. Thank you.
All right. Since you're here and you're here in the studio first, I just want to ask you. So it seems like Winsome Sears lost.
Yeah.
That's what that's what everybody's saying. You know,
they called it.
They called it early.
Spanberger already gave her speech.
Are you surprised by that at all?
No. Virginia flips. Whatever party's in the White House, Virginia goes the other way. It's just what happens. There's certain natural.
That's always happened in Virginia,
except for once in our modern times, right? So there's a natural order of things that happen, and for my party, for the Republican Party, we have to fight against that. For example, the party in the White House generally loses seats in Congress in the midterm.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we don't have enough margin there.
Mhm.
So, but there's just a natural order of things that happen. That's what happened in Virginia. Virginia got swept. I think, some people are going to try and make it about the shutdown. Was it the government shutdown? Was it the immigration policy? Was it this? Was it? No. It's just harder for the party in the White House to win Virginia. It just is. And so as a political consultant, you know this to be the case. And so you fight against that. You do everything you can to set it up, but you also understand there's a certain order of things that you deal with.
It's just the way the nature.
It's just the way things are.
Rod Martin, Greg, I'm gonna come to you.
Well, wait. But I mean, how does a governor, or I guess she's governor now, Abigail Spanberger,
Governor-elect.
I mean, she wouldn't even call out her fellow Democrat for wishing, death on Republicans' children. She would do. They remember. Did you watch the debate where that kind of scene happened?
She didn't have to.
Yeah,
she didn't have to. In campaigns, you only speak to what you have to speak to.
Yeah.
Sometimes an attack doesn't land.
Uh-huh.
And, the hardest thing for me as a political consultant is telling my candidate, they just called you, a drunkard, and we're not going to respond because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, my wife thinks it matters. Yeah, well, great. You can talk to her the day after the election.
Why didn't those text messages why didn't those land?
That's not what the election was about.
Even for the attorney general, looks like he's winning too, and he's the one that said those text messages.
Exactly. So voters,
and he's going to win likely.
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care. Let me tell you, we don't care.
That's just
We don't care. We don't care.
Voters have 2, maybe 3 plugins. Think of it as the back of an old computer, right? You get 2 or maybe 3 plugins, and they're done.
I don't like the way you just simplified us.
And so, they're not paying attention to this stuff because they're not going to go vote based on that. They may not like it, but that's not why they're going to vote.
Okay, Greg. Greg's sitting here with his hands.
Greg, chew him up. Don't let him get away, Greg.
Greg's fixing his monitor right now.
There you go.
Greg, hold on. I'm going to come to you in a second, but it looks like we're getting the news that, as you can see on the screen, Zoran Mandami just won.
He is running away with it.
Wow.
Rod, give me some hope here.
How does communism win in New York City? Did you see him quote Karl Marx today from Donnie?
I wouldn't overthink it.
Is that old? I think it was today.
What we're seeing.
We don't got sound from Rod. We need sound from Rod.
Rod, this happened last time I had Rod on. You just keep talking till we hear you. How about that?
Okay.
Greg, do you have sound?
Hear me at all?
This is Rod's fault or Greg's
is it
fault,
ours?
or is
Is it
our
ours
producer's fault?
Oh, it's very faint.
Rod, we can hear you, but it's very faint. Greg, you got sound?
Yeah, I've got you guys in my in-ears, but Rod's coming out
I
over
can't
my
hear Greg either.
laptop speaker, so I don't know what's going on. He's jumping technology
Some
over here.
producer just got fired.
So much for the sound check. So tonight, the elections that have ended. So Virginia ended at 7 p.m. This is what I gave you on your sheet, kind of thing. Ohio has a Cincinnati mayor, which is not a controversial race, at least. That election ended at 7:30, and then Georgia has an Atlanta mayor. You got Maine has some things on the ballot. I'm not familiar with what's going on in Maine there. Detroit has another mayor, but he'll be in jail in probably another year. New Jersey, that all ended at 8 o'clock, and they had results right after. So New Jersey governor, New Jersey city mayor, Pennsylvania, that ends at 8 o'clock, and there's some really interesting some Supreme Court stuff. We'll talk about that here in a little bit happening in Pennsylvania. Texas has a special election, 18th congressional district, which has been normally held by a Democrat. And then Texas has some propositions. This is happening at 9 o'clock later tonight. 9 o'clock, you have Texas has some propositions. Colorado has a proposition. Minnesota, Minneapolis mayor. We will have Jeff Evans on to come and talk about that in Minneapolis. And then New York City mayor ends at 9, but they're already kind of calling it.
They're calling it.
Yeah.
Buffalo mayor, New York City mayor, and then California proposition at 11 p.m.
But this is all Eastern time, so that's already it's closed already.
Yes.
So that was an hour ago.
8 o'clock. That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. 11 p.m.
Do you want me to go ahead and call the California election anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah. You think
on,
proposition is going to pass?
On CROSSPOLITIC.
Yeah. We're calling it. Yes on 50, 60% of the vote.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I could see
Everybody back here is like,
Bill
"Oh."
just laughed. Santa Cruz Bill just laughed.
Oh man, I want to burn this.
That's what the candle's for.
Yeah, so we can
So
burn.
you can light things on
we can
fire.
burn, set off
Let's-
the water.
Hey Rod, are you there? Because we're not hearing you.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
He's here, but we can't hear him.
Yeah. Everybody hears Rod but us. That's odd.
That's
Right.
funny.
Is that because we don't have his sound and setup going through our?
No, that's all.
That's weird.
Do you think the Roadcaster needs to be rebooted?
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah,
Wonder
that's-
why would they have sound and not us?
we got to get that fixed.
Mm-mm. No,
We can't hear Greg either.
Can you hear me?
That's funny.
I hear you guys fine.
Another producer.
Yeah,
just got
and I can
fired.
hear.
We're not gonna have any
Rod.
producers before the end of the show.
We're gonna be all out.
We'll figure this out. We're gonna figure it out.
So I still want to kick this Virginia thing around because Glenn seemed to win pretty well. I mean, it's close. It was a close race, but it's like a pretty strong finish for Glenn. But I guess Biden was president then, so that kind of sticks with your
and
form.
we were. I think the suburban vote was in motion. It's not in motion now. And case in point is I'm just looking at Loudoun County. Loudoun County is just north of Washington, D.C. It's where they had all the problems with all the schools and all the transgender garbage that goes on. And Earl Sears is losing Loudoun County by 30 points. 30 points.
Wow.
And Glenn Youngkin lost it by 10. You can't overcome that.
Yeah.
You can't overcome that. So we're losing something there. And a lot of it could be we're very happy. We have a White House. We have a Congress. We're feeling good, right? That's always a dynamic of the party.
And are you saying though, is this a voter turnout problem, or is it the people don't really don't want her?
Yeah, I don't know the voter turnout yet. I have to analyze the numbers, but I think it could be a motivation problem.
Because I mean, if people think things are going well and they stay home,
they're not angry. Our base is not as angry as it was last year.
And maybe Democrats are angry.
Correct. Oh yeah,
they are.
I
They
mean,
are.
If
are.
If President
What did they do to Charlie?
If President Trump's administration does anything, it angers the hard left.
Okay.
And so they're motivated.
So they're motivated. So they're coming out, and maybe our people are a little apathetic.
Yeah,
maybe
that's
so.
part of it.
This is horrible. What is this stuff?
I think we have Rod Martin.
We finally have Rod Martin for real. Okay, Rod, what's going on?
Well, we're losing blue states. I don't think that should shock anybody. What is just absolute miracle is that we have made some real progress in New York and New Jersey. And it isn't showing up in a win tonight, but it didn't show up in other places over time too. The trend line is where we want it. And, the Democrats flipped Colorado 20 years ago into their column. Nobody thought that was possible. In 2016, nobody thought Donald Trump could win Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota. Yep, lo and behold, he did, and he's done it again. So the trend is good. We're making progress. Scott Pressler's work in New Jersey was especially encouraging. Didn't show up tonight. Doesn't matter. We're moving in the right direction. And I think that this is a wake-up call for Republican voters in particular, that they better take the midterms seriously or they're going to get their clock cleaned. And the second half of Trump's second term is going to be a disaster.
When you look at Virginia, how do you say we're still gaining ground? Because to me, it looks like we lost ground because Glenn was governor, and now we got a crazy Democrat as governor. And the problem with Virginia is the Democrats also have the House and the Senate. So before Glenn was actually vetoing a lot of stuff happening in Virginia, but now they got a rubber stamp Democrat.
Well, I'm mostly talking about the Northeast. You're talking about New Jersey, New York.
Yeah.
We're actually making headway up there. Virginia is a mess. And honestly, the quicker Donald Trump clears out a lot of the deep state people and they have to go get real jobs in the real world, that might actually start moving in the right direction. But let's just be honest. Winsome Sears is one of my favorite people, and she ran a completely terrible campaign. I mean, it was just awful. And
in what way?
We're losing AG is that the top of the ticket was just so bad. She's awesome. She ran a terrible campaign and she lost.
Okay, but you guys are like political science guys, right? So what was so bad about her campaign?
Literally everything.
I didn't watch it, but I heard she equivocated or was slow to react on certain questions, like protecting females in sports. And
you're referring to debates.
I'm just referring to the message that was out there. Or maybe our base wasn't as motivated as somebody who would give hard and fast answers. But the top of the ticket's got to inspire, it's got to motivate. Also has to fund the down ballots. That's part of the top of the ticket's deal.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Rob, you said everything she did was bad.
Now she's awesome.
I like her. Yeah,
she's fantastic. But the candidate is not the whole campaign, and a candidate who tries to be the whole campaign is sure to fail. So you're counting on these other people, and the truth is, the organizing side was poor. The fundraising side wasn't as strong as it needed to be, and she just wasn't on the message she needed to be to beat these guys soundly. And, plus it's an off year. President is a Republican, blah, blah, blah. All those things are true. But she was not as strong a candidate as she could have been and should have been. If she had run the race that she ran for lieutenant governor, she might be governor tonight.
What kind of messaging do you think she needed to have?
I think she needed to be a lot stronger on the responsibility of the Democratic leadership for what's happening in Northern Virginia right now, with layoffs, with people going without their paychecks now for 35 days. I think those things were key. I think she needed to give, as Phyllis Schlafly would say, a choice, not an echo. I don't think she did as good a job as just hammering away at core issues as she needed to. But honestly, this is mostly lost on the ground. I think the organizing piece is what really, really killed her. And, it was going to be a tough race no matter what. The Democrats were probably going to win, but she helped them.
Greg.
Yeah.
Greg.
Hold on.
Yes, sir.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
That's for you, Greg.
What was that?
Yeah, that's what New York is about to sound like.
Muslim call.
Oh, it's because I'm 45 miles south of Dearborn. Oh, okay.
There you go.
Well,
yeah.
Shiite law. Yeah.
No, Greg, what are you seeing tonight? And what's what help us out. What's going on?
Well, starting close to home with me in Detroit, I have kind of a personal connection there. Worked for Mayor Duggan for many years as a realtor, reassessing some of the overtaxed homes from 2010 to 2015. And he was very successful. And I helped him reassess 50,000. My brokerage did. But he reassessed over 150,000. And he was a pretty good mayor. He stayed away from social issues as independent, Democrat then, and was just fought tooth and nail by the council. And then lo and behold, the president of the city council looks like Mary Sheffield. She's going to handily beat Solomon Kinloch for Detroit mayor. And I think they're just going to regress back to what they were under Kwame, our very famous mayor who was jailed and then pardoned by Trump. For what reason, I'm not sure. I think Trump has a soft spot for pardoning criminal politicians, it seems like, between him and the guy from Chicago, Balagovich or whatever his name was.
Yep.
But yeah, so close to home here, I was really watching the New York race with Mamdani or Malandami or whoever he is.
Mamdani.
Yeah, there you go. I cannot believe New York City fell for that hook, line, and sinker. How far they've come as a city. They saw such growth under some mayors, in the 90s. Giuliani, for what he is now, was a fantastic prosecutor of crime in New York and really turned it around. And now we went full-blown socialist. So
jihad socialist.
Jihad socialist. And just holding it down here. I'm hoping that Kash Patel doesn't show up at my house asking me questions about the terror plot in Dearborn.
Tim,
Mamdani is the embodiment of the Red Green Alliance. He's everything that hates America all in one person. And this is just going to be horrifying for New York, but it's going to be awesome for Florida and Texas. We are absolutely going to get a live action play of Atlas Shrugged here. And that's what they want. They can have it. That's literally kind of, well, actually, that is how we got to a Mayor Giuliani. You know, New York went to the bottom of the barrel. They absolutely had crime out the yin yang. They let the city basically go bankrupt. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. You couldn't walk through Times Square. And eventually they reacted. They elected Giuliani. Giuliani cleaned up the city in no time flat. So in the meantime, hedge funds are going to keep coming to Miami. A lot of public companies are going to at least dually list on the new Texas Stock Exchange that opens in Dallas next year. And if Mamdani follows through on the things he's promising, they're going to leave the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ for Texas, and that's never coming back.
You really think so?
Yeah.
I go ahead, Greg.
I was just say a fun fact that Rod said too. Top destinations states that are taking advantage of New Yorkers leaving are Florida, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Texas, Georgia, and Massachusetts in that order. So, yeah, Florida probably going to get some more electoral votes out of this. New Jersey right next door, and then people going south, and even the Rust Belt, Pennsylvania, North Carolina.
I would have thought if those people were going to leave, they would have left already, especially during COVID. And so, right, I'm going to let you guys rip me up on this one, but I think I'm seeing a resurgence of communism. And seriously, I mean, it's getting pretty popular right now. But
Resurgence.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
But, I mean, the SBC also.
Yeah, but you know, you look in like from 1910 to about 1960, we had about 130 different mayors that were communists in America. That's not new.
Right.
And something happened in the 60s, and everybody thinks, oh, you know, because we had the Cold War and all that stuff, that it kind of, no, the Democratic Party basically merged together with the communists. And because the Democratic Party became communist, there was no need for communists anymore to run. And so, and then we didn't have a communist until Bernie Sanders as a mayor. From 60 until 20 years later, Bernie Sanders comes in and he runs as an independent, right? Bernie Sanders runs as an independent. And then now, since Bernie, we see our second one pop up in the time period. And I think the people are more set for communism than they are for free work, right? I don't think they're set up to be free anymore. And I think communism sounds good to them. And for a while, it looks like it might work for them for a period of time, like communism always does.
The problem for New York is that they can't build a Berlin Wall. You know, they're always comparing the wall on the Mexican border to the Berlin Wall, but that's a joke. The Berlin Wall was about keeping people in, not keeping people out. And the reason you needed to keep them in is because you couldn't afford to lose the tax base. I mean, it really is that simple. So if New York does the things that Mamdani has promised, no sane person who has any economic interest in the city can retain it. They're going to have to leave. We've already seen, as you said, under COVID, we had a tremendous outflow of major financial firms to South Florida. Just incredible. And West Palm Beach and Miami are just filled with firms that have come south, many of whom are actually populated with Republicans. You know, there are a lot of Republicans in these places. They're the first ones to bolt because they know what's coming. The Democrats frequently don't know what they voted for, or at least not the consequences of it. We've also gotten a lot of people from Silicon Valley down in Miami, and they're Republicans too. So you've got a brain drain coming from these places in consequence of their actions. And it means that there are fewer and fewer people they can soak to pay for all the benefits they're trying to give away. That's unsustainable. And since they can't control outward migration, they eventually become Detroit. And that's the last major city you know of that had an openly communist mayor. and you see what a wasteland it's become. By the way, the mayor of LA trained in Cuba in a group that Castro set up to infiltrate American politics with true believers. So shouldn't shock us that the Democratic Party has gone this way when so many of their elected leaders, you left out AOC. AOC is a likely presidential nominee in the near future.
Don't say it. Say it ain't so.
And look, the net result of that is either we let them win or we let them cheat to win, and we go into that totalitarian night. Or in the alternative, we beat them and we use their failures against them. But obviously, Republican turnout did not answer to that call tonight. So we're going to have a lot of work to do over the next year.
Tim, I want to hear from Tim about New York City. So talk to me about the New York City mayoral, I mean, what just went down, debacle.
Well,
I don't know what we call it, but
I'm looking at it, and Cuomo has closed the gap a little bit. So I've got my little spreadsheet set up. So I'm going to start to look at the updates and see what's going on. If Cuomo, they have a million votes left to count. If he gets 52%, Mandami gets 42. If that's the way it's trending, then he can catch. So this is, I got a spreadsheet. We'll on the next update, it'll let us know what kind of movement we're getting, but he's definitely closed the gap.
What's it currently?
Well, Zoran is below 50%.
Okay.
Now he was above 50 before. Now he's down to 50. Cuomo is at 41.6 and change. There's a million votes left to count. That's big.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Oh, there's a chance. I mean, if it trends late, if people got the message that this guy Curtis Silva doesn't get the vote, and you never know, right?
Zoom out a little bit though, and talk to me about why is New York City in this place? Like, I mean, why have they opted for this?
Why has the financial capital of the world chosen to elect a socialist?
Yes, that's my question.
Because things are changing, right? The cities are changing, and there's been a tremendous amount of immigration of people who aren't necessarily understanding of the American experience.
Ouch.
And the American experience is one born of fighting against totalitarianism and going your own way and having land to work, right? All those things that our founding fathers fought for. And now you've got a city that is got a lot of welfare, a lot of government support. And they just don't understand that America is the land of opportunity. If you go seize it, it's not the land of the subsidy.
Is this a function of what Knox was saying? I mean, since COVID, did a lot of the red that was left, or even centrist, sort of like the Cuomo Democrats, did they all leave because of things?
I can tell you about my home state of California. The migration began before COVID. It intensified during COVID. Especially with remote work, a lot of those guys in Silicon Valley that were conservative are like, yeah, I'm doing this.
I'm out.
And it's continued after. We've become a very bifurcated society. We have the left, which enjoyed an open field running for 20, 30 years, right? Since Roe v. Wade.
Right.
And all of a sudden, the right woke up and said, oh, maybe politics has become a little tougher. Maybe we do need to stand up and stop being the nice guy, nice tie, right? Republicans, we stopped electing the nice guy with the nice tie.
Yeah.
I'd say the last guy was George W. Bush. Nice guy, nice tie. Didn't do a whole heck of a lot for us.
No.
I'm sorry, my Bush friends, but that's the way it is.
Okay, well, amen you right now.
Well,
yeah.
He gave us that awesome Patriot Act, though.
Well, yeah.
That we all have come to love and cherish.
It's a little worse than that. We nominated McCain and Romney, and they both got creamed. And this is the thing. We've nominated, I should say, the nice guy with the nice tie repeatedly since Reagan. We did it with Bush. We did it with Dole. We did it with Bush again. We did it with McCain, and then with Romney. And think about it. 2 of those guys got elected. 3 of those guys got creamed. And one of the 2 guys who got elected got creamed when he ran for re-election. America doesn't want that. They like Donald Trump. They're going to like J.D. Vance. I think we've got a really good bench right now. Ron DeSantis would be a great candidate. There are people out there who are actually able to fight for what we believe in, and people are responding to that. But the nice guy with the nice tie was a disaster, and the Republican Party going down that road was basically just giving the country to the left.
Wow.
Yeah, I wrote an op-ed in 2016 that ran in the Sacramento Bee, and it was basically, here's why Christian candidates like Donald Trump. We're tired of the nice guy. We want someone that's going to go kick over some chairs and knock some heads. And in my phone banks all over the Western United States, I had sweet, elderly church ladies phoning for Donald Trump into Detroit.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're winning Michigan. We won Michigan by what? 15,000 votes? Well, those phone calls that went to the Michigan homes came out of Texas and New Mexico and California. And they would get off the phone and go, oh my, he wasn't very nice. Had some bad words. What's my next number? And they were on it. They were going to elect Donald Trump no matter what, because they were tired of the nice guy, nice tie.
Yeah.
They just were.
Granny's winning them.
Yeah.
Wow. So I just saw a minute ago that Pennsylvania has retained those 3 state Supreme Court justices, preserving Democrat majority 5-2. Have you been following this much, Tim, in Pennsylvania?
I haven't.
Okay. Either of you guys following that story?
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how significant that was. I think the main thing that people were talking about was the potential for election reform, and if there needed to be appeals to the Supreme Court over elections in Pennsylvania, being able to maybe shift that balance in the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania might pay dividends, but it looks like they weren't able to move that.
Could you guys check and see what's going on in Minnesota? Have they talked about the mayoral race there? Our crack team back here, our producers, Bank arrived. Thank you, Bank, for being here. Yeah,
Hey,
you're late. You're fired. Get to work. So yeah, I'd like to know what's going on, if anything has happened there.
We got any questions from our
I don't see any
audience?
questions. Somebody did. I'll just post this one right here. Somebody said, why can't the conservatives in New York move to the New York suburbs to build a bulwark to try to win the state governor race? Who wants to take that one?
Well,
I think they
shot.
should stay in the conservative congressional seats and keep winning those congressional seats, because this is the precursor to an all-out battle in 2026. If we don't hold the House, I just want to say this again, if we don't hold the House, the Democrats will hold hearing after hearing after hearing. Now, when I was in the
and it'll completely tie them up.
When I was in the
Like it happened
administration,
before.
we changed everything for year 3 and 4 of Donald Trump's first term. When we got rid of staff and we hired attorneys because we knew it was coming, and it was like walking through molasses. It was hard to get through, and they're going to do everything they can to shut them down if we don't win the House. So I would rather the conservatives stay in the House seats we have in New York right now, because that's the play.
Rod?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And, they'll impeach him at least 2 more times. There just won't be any end to it. And the net result of that is just horrifying. We may actually lose in 28 if we're stupid enough to let ourselves lose the House in 26. I think Trump is spot on, and so is Greg Abbott, and so are several of our governors, to actually meet the Democrats where they are. The Democrats have completely gerrymandered almost every state they control. There's virtually nothing left for them to squeeze out. And Trump is right. We gotta play the game that's being played. So the new map in Texas is very positive. We could easily draw a map where there are only 2 Democrats representing Florida out of 27. We could easily make some big ground in a lot of our other states. And the truth is, we're gonna have to. We are giving them, we're spotting them about 20 House seats, which is absurd. The other thing that's going to help in a big way is as the deportations ramp up. We've already deported about 550,000, which, out of 10 or 20 million may not sound like a lot, but given the detention space we have and the number of immigration judges we have, it's actually a bunch. It's certainly the largest number in any one year in recent history. So add to that the additional detention space that we're adding at Alcatraz and Deportation Depot and the Speedway Slammer and so forth. I'm looking for Polar Bear Prison. That's the one I want. All of that gives you the opportunity to process through at a greater rate. And it's not accidental that Alligator Alcatraz is sitting beside a runway. They're flying people straight out of there after they get their brief hearing. If you do that, it's going to dramatically impact Democrat electoral votes and House seats, particularly in California, Illinois, and New York, but maybe not in time to help us in 28, because though Trump has talked about a new census, there's no real provision for that. I don't think he's going to be able to get away with that. But these governors can act on some of that in the short term, and it will make a difference.
Greg, you want to add anything to that?
Just in reference to the question and in agreement with both of the gentlemen, I don't know if it's necessarily beneficial to move upstate in an already either blue or deep purple state that has gerrymandered the election districts and from the top down is far left. Sometimes I wonder if it is more beneficial when some of these New Yorkers and Californians go to a Texas, go to a Florida, go to a South Carolina, where it's already pretty strong red across the board in the state houses, state senates, and the governor, and they have fair election districts, and then start to rebuild from there. I've experienced it here in Michigan. We had a stranglehold, Republicans did, on the Senate and the House for over 30 years. We would flip back and forth with the governor. And then the Democrats got smart and said, let's set up a nonpartisan, bipartisan electoral commission. And they got it pushed through. And lo and behold, they took control of both the Senate and the House, the state Senate and the House, and the governorship. So I don't know. I don't know if, to the questionnaire, I don't know if just moving upstate would help in somewhere like New York. It's kind of the gather your troops in the neutral zone and plan your attack type of thing. I don't know. What do you fellas think?
Well, I think that what's actually going to happen for sure is that most of the people who stay in New York are going to stay where they are. And most of the people who leave New York are just not in the equation. Now, somebody earlier said that, they couldn't understand how the financial capital of the world could be going communist. And the answer is most of the people in New York don't have anything to do with finance. They don't have any nexus at all with Wall Street other than covetousness. So it's very easy for them to see that as a golden goose that they're going to kill. And that's what they just did. So we're going to get a lot of those people, and we're going to get their money. And that's really what is going to hurt New York. They're going to have a very hard time sustaining all of the welfare benefits that Mamdani and others are promising. And eventually that gets you to a point where there's an opportunity for the revolution. So coming back to the original point, or a counter-revolution, coming back to that original point, the people who do stay put, the people who do stay in New York need to get more active. We need to actually mobilize them and work these precincts and actually flip New York. And it can be done. We have won New York in my lifetime repeatedly. We've won California in my lifetime repeatedly. And when I was growing up in Arkansas, Republicans had one county out of 75. Down here in Florida, basically the same. States shift, but you have to work it, and you have to have a message. And you can't just be Democrat light. If they want a Democrat, they'll vote for a real one. So we have to give them a real choice, and we have to work for it. And we have to understand it may take 10 years or 15 or 20, but the payoff is out there.
What do we do about illegal immigration? Because I hear what you're saying, but if it's true that we've kind of like overrun, Gabe was talking about this earlier. He had to go in, I think, to a game with his daughter. So I'll speak for Gabe. But he was talking about the fact that you don't have to have, for the most part, anybody can vote. Like you can just go and vote now. So if you're legal, you can just go and vote because you can get ID from California. You can drive trucks.
In California, you can go get a driver's license.
Yeah.
And then you can take your driver's license to the registrar and register to vote. And then you're on the honor system.
Yeah. So we don't know if citizens, well, actually, no, citizens aren't voting at this point, right?
Non-citizens.
Non-citizens are voting. So if that's the issue, and you have to deal with it, even if you got all the Republicans you can get to muster up to go out and vote, you're overrun in so many ways. What do you do about the illegal situation? I mean, I get it. 500,000 have been deported, but you still got 19 million and a half to go.
I understand.
Well,
I think Tom Homan,
because 2 million almost 2 million have self-deported. And that is the unsung story. That's actually quite extraordinary. Trump has given them a way to leave and an incentive to do so. They get a free plane ticket home, they get $1,000 cash, and they get to be in line to come back legally. Whereas they're told, if you stay and we catch you, you are barred from reentry forever. So, we're never going to give you citizenship. You're never getting a green card. It's never happening. Okay, well, that's only as good as the next election. No question about it. But if you want to be in America, that matters to you. And that's why nearly 2 million people have left. So we're not down 500,000, we're down 2.5 million. And I think that'll speed up a lot. That's the biggest single thing. The other thing, Knox, you're exactly right. We have to actually get a handle on the election system. Trump attempted to do that with an executive order requiring proof of citizenship to vote. A Democrat federal judge just overruled that. Okay, well, fine. We'll fight that up to the Supreme Court. And I think that it's going to be pretty clear that the federal government has a right to regulate its own elections. So, yeah, if San Francisco wants illegals voting for mayor, they can do that. But I believe we can establish as a matter of federal law that you have to be able to prove that you're a citizen to vote in a federal election. That goes a long way to solving the problem, because these places are not going to want to hold two different elections in a lot of cases. That's going to be really expensive. So I think we've got a shot at cracking that.
Greg, I'm going to come to you in a second. Tim, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I agree with that. For the longest time, I thought the Supreme Court would have to step in and define what is a valid voter. The states get to define that. The states get to run their elections. I just thought it was so out of whack that we're going to need a Supreme Court. I don't know that that's true anymore. I think the president is committed to securing the borders and removing the illegal immigrants from our country. As a American, I wish that we'd take all this foreign aid that we give over to Europe and put it all into Latin America and help build those economies and build up great trading partners so that those folks didn't feel compelled to come here anymore. But that's a different story. But yeah, I think Tom Homan's done a great job. I think Stephen Miller, who's planning policy strategies, done an outstanding job. And I think the president's going to get it done. The one thing you learn about President Trump is he's a business guy. He doesn't take, no, it can't be done because the process doesn't work. Yeah. Right? That doesn't happen. When I fired the Surgeon General of the United States, a man named Vivek Murthy, who hadn't
time out. I'm sorry. Did you say when you fired?
Well, he hadn't self-resigned, which you do. So he was still around, and he's out giving speeches about things that we don't believe in. And so Tom Price, who's the chair, or the Secretary of Health and Human Services, says in his Southern accent, "Well, someone's got to go fire this guy because this guy he's saying too much." and he said, "Tim, you go fire this guy." Okay. So we set up to fire him at 4:00 on a Friday, because that's when you fire people in Washington, D.C. At 4:00 on a Friday. And so we set it all up, and he's coming to meet the White House liaison. He's all excited. And at noon, we realized that we forgot to tell the president we're firing the Surgeon General today. And so we send a letter to the note to the White House. Dear Mr. President, I'm going to fire your Surgeon General today at 4. Is that okay? And he sends back a 3-word response. Go for it.
Yeah.
That was it. I'm like, this is from the president. Go for it. Yes. Go for it.
Wow.
And that's who Donald Trump is. He just doesn't take the whole bureaucratic. It wasn't like Karl Rove came in and said, "Oh, we got to pull this. We're not sure how this is going to play on the public if you fire the Surgeon General of the United States." No. Do it. Do it now. Get it done now.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic serving someone that was decisive. So when it comes to the border, I think he's going to get it done.
I agree.
Greg?
Well, no, I would agree with Rod too, with the shock and awe that Trump came out with on the border helps incentivize people to leave on their own. He knows how many detention centers we have, how many judges, all those things. So I do appreciate that. My concern is that we're fighting it on two fronts. And this goes back to what you said, Knox, probably 20 minutes ago, talking about the rise of communism and socialism. Not only do we have people from different cultures that don't appreciate not only the American way, but capitalism is the greatest economic system that's ever been created, invented, or used in the history of the universe. You have the next generation, and this is why shows like CrossPolitic are so important. The next generation, the fathers, and when I say fathers, I'm talking about biological, cultural fathers, educational fathers, not teaching that next generation about what capitalism is and the dangers of communism and socialism. You talk to 15, 16, 18, 19-year-olds, they have a soft view of socialism. And in part, that's because the Democrats have done very good, and the mainstream media has hijacked that and just pumped through social media and through mainstream media and all these avenues. It's not that bad. They don't know about Stalin. They don't know about Mao. They don't know about communism. They don't know about any of this stuff. They just go, oh, I think it needs to be a little more fair, right? That they just hear the same talking points. So we've been derelict in our duty in raising up the next generation that is supposed to protect those values, those ideals, the education of knowing that capitalism is the greatest system ever invented. And so we're fighting this on two fronts. Yes, we have to take the people breaking the law and here illegally with a culture that doesn't understand it and really thumbs their nose at hard work, free markets, capitalism, all those things. And I'm not generalizing, saying all, but if you're here illegally, you've already stepped over that line, so to speak, in my mind. But then we're also fighting it on the next generation coming up. This is why God had to keep reminding Israel, it only takes one generation. Do you remember what I did for you? We have to tell the next generation, do you remember the millions of people that died in communism and socialism and the failed things that happened? Do you know what happens when you embrace those things? So I think it's twofold. Yes, political, but also why CrossPolitic and what you guys do is so important, educating the next generation.
Son, it's so bad. It's so bad that I heard a millennial the other day, a smart person, a very capable professional, say to me that Ronald Reagan had stood for the idea that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. That is a direct quote from Bill Clinton. Ronald Reagan is the most pro-life president in American history. And of course, they want to throw up, well, he legalized abortion in California. Yeah, nobody knew what abortion was when he did that. 70 to 80% of Southern Baptists were pro-abortion when he did that. He realized what he'd done, he repented of it, and he actually ran twice for president as a candidate opposing the rape and incest exceptions because he said we shouldn't punish children for their parentage. I mean, just extraordinary. But these young people have been inculcated into this critical theory-based mishmash in public schools we should never have sent them to. Christians send most of their children to public schools that have become left-wing indoctrination camps. Do not teach them the basics they need to know to have critical thinking because they'd rather indoctrinate them in critical theory. And by the way, your audience needs to know that you guys just put on a fantastic education conference in Nashville just a couple of weeks ago. Fight, Laugh, Feast is the best. Everybody needs to buy their tickets for next year.
Y'all release Rod Martin's check. Go ahead and release that check. Send it out.
Venmo him that $100, Knox.
Yeah, go ahead. No, it's 1,000, but that's okay. We ain't counting. Rod and Greg and Tim, you can jump in on this too. I was just talking about this. When you look at the leadership in America, there's been, I think Rush Dooney talked about this. We've kind of had this wonderful culture of Christianism kind of connected to all of our society. It wasn't completely broken down. I think Aaron Rand talks about it as the positive, neutral, negative world. And then in Rush Dooney's time, he starts talking about the fact that we are losing that because we don't have a strong Christian foundation that fuels our political environment anymore. And it made me think, and we talked about this on the show the other day, about the fact that I couldn't bring up in my mind in recent history a Christian political leader that I could say that man is a godly Christian man that is also a political leader that everybody knows, like, I want to live in that world that he's making. Like in recent history, I couldn't think of anybody. I think you said Reagan, but I mean, Reagan, I was
actually, that's what I said. I said Reagan. When you asked me that, I said, I think Reagan would be my hero. Like I would think of like a Christian man who was doing good work in the public sphere and as a civic leader. And even with the caveats that Rod just gave, that he learned some things and repented of some things. But by the time he was a president, standing against communism, standing for free markets, standing for life, all these things. I mean, that's the last guy I can kind of remember that kind of was the whole package.
And there's like 2 generations almost since that guy was president. Like, it was like 4.
Yeah.
And so
I was a
just
teenager. But yeah, I mean, Ronald Reagan saved the world. We were going to lose to the communists in the 80s. There was no getting out of it. Everything was going the wrong way. And Reagan turned it around. And it was the communists who collapsed, not the other way around. Reagan put us on the path to economic prosperity that nobody had been able to crack since before the Depression. From World War II until the first 2 years of Ronald Reagan, we had an average of 1 recession every 2.5 years, just unending up and down and churn. And Reagan comes in, slays inflation, cuts taxes from a top marginal rate of 70%. 70% top
crazy
down to just 28. I mean, it's just extraordinary. Gave us IRAs, 401ks, all of this tax advantage retirement stuff that built phenomenal wealth. And to give you an idea of what that did, when Reagan took office, only about 15% of Americans had $5,000 or more in investments. When we got to the turn of the century, because of what Reagan had reformed, that number was 54%. We actually democratized the means of production, because Ronald Reagan did what he did. So, it's true. He got totally hoodwinked by the Democrats on the 1986 amnesty bill. Absolutely true. They promised border security in exchange for an amnesty for the people who were already here. He went for it, and they lied. They absolutely didn't do their part. And very much like they did on budget things again and again, with Bush, if you'll raise taxes, we'll cut spending. No, they actually raised spending by $1.82 for every dollar Bush agreed to raise taxes. They just lied. So, it took a while to figure out just how dishonest certain aspects of American politics had become. And there wasn't much of a conservative movement back then. But we have unquestionably in Reagan the greatest president of the 20th century. He was a godly Christian man who really loved the Lord from an early age. And we need more people like that. They won't get everything right, but they will get more right. And, for all the attacks on cultural Christianity, the truth is that's better than a world in which we castrate small children and call that progress. So there was good in that. What we really need now is the revival, and indeed a great awakening that I think we're seeing the beginnings of, but we have to pray for it. We have to work for it. And we're going to have to reconnect politics and culture to faith, because otherwise we will lose the country.
Absolutely. And that's why, and what I'm going to say is probably not going to be very popular, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't think that it is, during COVID, I think it was a good time for everything to get repositioned. I think we were going that way anyway. Everybody could feel it, and COVID was the perfect time. Like, okay, I need to find the people where I need to be at. I don't think it's time to move right now. Now, I'm not saying that's law for everybody, but I don't think it's time to move right now. I think it's time to get settled, plant your feet, and start building where you're at. And that was part of the reason for the conference too. It's like, okay, you got settled, you had some years, you figured out where you're going to live at, where you want to put your family at. Okay, you're there. Now get to work, start building, because I think part of what we need to do is make sure where we're building at, that the culture and the people that we want to win start seeing Christians engage in such a way where they say the world is better when these guys rule.
Yeah.
Right? The righteous rule, everything goes best. I'm not a Christian. I don't even want to be a Christian. I want to live wherever they are, though. Mm-hmm. I want to be under wherever rule they're under, because everything goes so much better there. And so I don't think, and this kind of goes to the question earlier, like, no, I think it's time to, if you're in New York, like, figure out how to take 12 blocks, or figure out how first to take one, your own home, then take 2, then take 3, then take more. Right. But I think we are at a place right now where it's like, okay, you have to build where you're at. And then you need to get into a position where people can publicly see the Christian lifestyle that you live, trickling all the way through every ounce of politics that you engage with.
It's Knox, I mean, you're not wrong. And the fact is, I mean, when in the culture that we've trained up, this public school leftist, globalism, all the rest of it that's laced with this communism, it simply doesn't work.
Right.
And so what we've raised up is going to be people who are not prepared for the real world at all. They're fine with lying, that Rod mentioned earlier. They're fine with dishonesty. They don't believe in work. We just saw this with the people being interviewed that were losing their SNAP benefits.
Yeah.
I mean, like they don't know what to do. It's just like, that's my, that's how I get my money. I don't know where my meal's going to come from this weekend. And it's like, so this is the people that, we're raising up in this leftist utopian delusion, which means though that Christians are in a remarkable place, because if you are raising kids that believe in hard work, that believe in telling the truth, that love their neighbors, that practice justice, I mean, it actually doesn't take a whole lot, because otherwise the neighborhood's going to go completely to hell.
Right.
It's going to completely fall apart. But if you have kids and you have a community that's telling the truth, that's working hard, that cares about neighbors, that is going to make a huge difference. And you actually can make, I think, significant progress, particularly because of how dark it's gotten.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim, do you want to?
Well, I by God's grace, I had the pleasure of taking my daughters, 2 of them, and my wife to Charlie Kirk's memorial service.
Yeah.
And the stadium was packed.
Yeah.
It's Cardinal Stadium, so no one goes there anyway, but it was packed. and everybody was singing and praising.
Yep.
And Chris Tomlin, who's a church worship leader,
yep,
was singing, holy, and the entire place was going. And I thought, for the first time, I'm a cynic, right? I'm a political console. I'm a cynic. Oh my gosh, we got, I had hope that God was doing something with the younger generation, because the place was packed with young people.
Right.
Now, I guess I'm old enough to say young people, right? Am I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I cut my grays off. I see
crossed
yours.
that barrier. But anyway, yeah. And
I'm not
so
sure
you're right.
I'm old enough.
I think at the end of the day, there's the intangible of whatever the Holy Spirit is going to do. The Holy Spirit's going to do.
Of course.
And
of course.
And I was super encouraged by that memorial service. It was a time of sadness, but it was a time of great rejoicing and worship to God too.
Well, we noted here, I mean, and a number of people noted that, I mean, I think it's likely, and I haven't heard anything to contradict this, the very largest proclamation of the gospel in the history of the world. I actually believe that, because you had all the people live, and then you had millions watching at home live.
100 million ultimately.
100 million, yeah.
Yes, and then you've got it then it's out there on YouTube and X and all of these various platforms being watched again and again, and of course it's clipped and sections of it are shared and all the rest of it. But you had a couple of pastors at the beginning who presented the gospel in absolute clarity. It was a completely evangelical proclamation of the gospel. And then even after that, I mean, it was, there were ups and downs. It wasn't always as clear as you might want it to be, but basically, by and large, everyone that came later was saying they knew that Charlie Kirk was special because he believed in Jesus Christ, because he was a Christian.
Yep.
Because, and from Tucker's comments about repentance, we need to repent, to even RFK, saying, his niece is taking a Bible to college because she wants to be more like Charlie Kirk. It's Donald Trump's meandering comments. It was even there, though he admitted, granted, and just said publicly, and felt to me like in certain respects, portions of it were kind of like right out of the book of Daniel, where you have something happens, and Daniel or one of the 3 friends have been prosecuted, persecuted, and then in the aftermath, with God vindicating them, the Persian or Babylonian emperor comes on the stage and is like, everybody needs to believe in Daniel's God. Everybody needs to believe in Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's God. That God's the real God. That's the living God. And I think, from real believers, people like J.D. Vance and people like Tucker and others, to people, I don't know necessarily where they are, but they were professing faith publicly, proclaiming that faith publicly, and telling everybody, what made Charlie Kirk so great was his Christian faith. It was his faith in the Christian God, and that's massively potent. So I'm very hopeful too.
And so JD Vance, Vice President Vance, said it best. He says, I had been a little reticent to share my faith, but after this, I've shared my faith the last 2 weeks straight up. And that's where I got my hope from. The boldness that came out of there. So Lord willing, if the younger generation can be bold, we can go out and we can begin to save places like California. Also in California, Prop 50 is going to pass and they're going to redistrict. I'm not afraid of that because they're going to weaken the super safe Democrat seats enough so that they can also weaken the Republican seats.
Okay.
And so I say, give me the ball and let me run through that line.
Whoa.
I think we're going to surprise them and pick up a few seats in California because they've weakened the safer Democratic seats.
Explain how that works.
Well, so they've got a bunch of safe Democrat seats and a bunch of super safe Republican seats. Everybody's in their own pot. And now in order to pick up the seats they want to pick up,
they're trying to chase those Republican seats.
They have to give away some of those areas.
Interesting.
and so they're going to weaken it. And I say,
Prop 50 pass looks like.
Yeah, it did pass.
Oh yeah, that was for sure.
Yeah, you called that one.
Well, it was
pretty easy, I guess.
That passed last week.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We're going to introduce our new guest.
Yeah, that's right.
Joseph Backholm.
Who else introduces guests but you?
Oh, I don't know. This is a weird show. I usually read whatever's on my prompter, and it's completely black. Joseph, how you doing, sir?
Great. Good to be with you guys.
Yeah, great to thank you for joining us, man. Always appreciate you. And I don't even remember where you are now.
I am in Raleigh, North Carolina.
This
evening, and very often it's where I live.
Okay.
Other places as well. Yes.
Yes, sir. Well, when I met you, I think you were in Seattle, and you've moved around a little bit since then. So what do you just start by I'm curious. What things have you been following tonight? What have you been following? What's been interesting to you? I don't know. I mean, and what are some initial takeaways?
Yeah, well, I don't think there's a lot of surprises at this point. I think it's kind of been chalk. It's always, I mean, the races that are getting the national attention are, of course, the governor's races in pretty blue states, and so it's not surprising what those results have been. Mamdani is winning in New York. As I look at this, and I wonder, because New Jersey is one of the states where it was thought that maybe Chitterelli had a chance. Polling was a little closer than people thought. It's not going to work out for him. But since he ran 4 years ago, 250,000 people have left the state of New Jersey. And I think we might just demographically be experiencing the sort where you're going to see blue places get bluer and you're going to see red places get redder, because the differences between these perspectives are so serious that people are just voting with their feet. And I think this has been happening for a while. But I think we're seeing an acceleration of this where perhaps like the surprise upset victory, politically speaking, is just going to become rarer and rarer because there are not as many swing voters who will, vote for a Democrat, then vote for a Republican, because they're all just choosing to live in a place where people are like them. And I think that could be part of what we're seeing going on in New Jersey for sure. Virginia is probably being affected to some degree by the shutdown happening in DC because, of course, it's just a suburb of the nation's capital, and that is so relevant. But I'm not sure. We're just not the lines are hardening.
Yeah. Joseph, one of the things I remember about, I think maybe one of the first times we met, one of the first times we had you on the show, was you were working for a group in Seattle at the time, and you were underlining the fact that one of our biggest problems, and you're working in Seattle, you're working in bright blue Seattle, and we said, so like conservatives have no chance at all, right? And you said, actually, no. You told it. No, don't take it back.
I'm not.
And you said the problem is you said conservatives don't show up, and you said if conservatives would actually vote if they would take, I think, what did you say, 10 minutes a year, 30 minutes a year?
10 minutes.
You had some.
Yeah, I was and am calling people to give 10 minutes a year, because if everybody who shares my values votes once a year and contacts the legislator, and you can do those two things in 10 minutes a year, the world is entirely different. And the problem that you're identifying there is especially in blue places, we are suffering from despair. So I am still pushing back against despair, because things that are possible that are not normal because of how humans generally respond to the sense of to a defeatist attitude where I can't do anything about it. So that's the status quo. If that wasn't the status quo, then yes, things could be different, because you don't need a majority of people in your state to win. You just got to be a majority of the people who turn out. And so many people don't get engaged that if all of our people got engaged and their people got engaged at the normal level, we'd still win, even in places where you wouldn't expect that. So that remains true. That being said, you're still seeing the migration from those blue places into those red places, where the people who could still be part of those differences in those places are just deciding, you know what, I want to live someplace else where people are more like me. So yes, despair is still a problem. It's not as bad statistically as people tend to think. If we show up, it will be dramatically different. All of that is still true. The fact remains, the sword is happening.
Wait, you just said.
I agree with all that. And I want to add just a bit to it. There is really something to be said for despair. You know, in Arkansas, when we had 14 members out of 100 of the state legislature, we had 6 senators out of 35. And then we had a big year in 1998, and we won a bunch of new seats over in Western Arkansas. And these seats had been in Democrat hands consistently since before the Civil War. These are not places that Democrats can't win. But we went in that election from 14 seats in the House to 24 seats in the House, and the 10 seats got labeled the Western Wall of Republicanism. And the Democrats didn't challenge any of those guys for over a decade. I mean, it was just unbelievable. They just couldn't believe they'd lost, and so it's unwinnable now. And we do a lot of that. That is one of the great things about what Scott Pressler has been doing in Pennsylvania, which worked in the 2024 election, and in New Jersey, which hasn't quite worked yet. You know, Republicans, just like Democrats, don't organize where they think they're gonna lose, so they keep losing. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we would get serious about organizing in the places where there is some ability to move the dial, even if it's not all the way, if we're just making it more competitive. You see what's happened with that in the last couple of elections in South Texas. Counties that voted 35 points for Hillary Clinton, a 35-point margin. This is a blowout by any standards. Donald Trump is winning those counties. And they're mostly Mexicans. Mexicans don't vote for us. Venezuelans vote for us. Cubans vote for us. Central Americans and Mexicans don't. But we're winning them in South Texas because people went and did the hard work. That's the lesson for this next year.
And that's what you're seeing in Pennsylvania. Where Pressler was assigned, I think Elon paid him in Pennsylvania for an entire year. Okay. And Pennsylvania wasn't even close. Or this year, it was ours.
Yeah. Right.
So,
right.
If I can jump back in and add to that, one of the complicating factors is, and you talked about Prop 50 in California, and that it leads to the whole redistricting conversation and the overt gerrymandering that nobody's even pretending about. So you have a problem moving forward. There are going to be fewer and fewer, certainly in Congress, swing seats that are even competitive. I expect that also to start happening in states as well, where the politicians are just unashamed because everybody's doing it. Everybody blames the other people for starting it, but everybody is just overtly now. We're going to draw the lines in our favor, and so nothing's going to be competitive, and that is going to further, make voters feel like they're being disenfranchised, where everything is baked in the cake because the rules have all been have been drawn so that our voice doesn't matter anymore. And I think that could just lead to a sense of, hopelessness for some. I mean, some people, depending on where you are geographically, right, you'll feel very secure because your team wrote all the rules and it's not likely to change. And that's going to be true in a blue environment, and that's going to be true in a red environment. And I think that's increasingly where we're heading. Tim,
you've given so much of your time to building campaigns. What do you, I'm curious your perspective on this, because what Joseph's saying, I think it makes sense to me, that people tend to feel kind of entrenched, and then they vote a certain way, and everybody says, look, they've got this massive majority. But then I wonder, how much of a difference? Rod just said a moment ago that actually you go in, you spend the time, you talk to real people, you have real conversations. It takes time. The little old ladies on the telephone calling people to, vote for Trump, whatever it is. But how big of a difference does that make? And can it flip these seats?
Yeah, it depends. So I'll answer that. And then I have a question.
Okay, good. All right.
So in Fresno, it's a 28% Republican town. It's 60% Latino. And my candidate, Ashley Swearingen, won the mayor's race. And she's white, the daughter of a pastor, wife of a pastor. And we ran away with it. And in part because she's very good at engaging people. And we went to everybody's backyard party over and over and over and over, because the Latino population is very relationship based.
Right.
So we had to show relationship. It wasn't, let me send you 5 mailers and then you go out and vote. It was, let me come to your home.
Right.
Let me know your family.
Right.
Let me see what's going on in your life. Oh, by the way, I think I can help with these things.
Okay.
And she ran away with it. So there's that. But then there's other elections where that's not the case, where you turn your base out. It's just a base vote. It just depends on it.
Okay.
But here's the question I have for you.
Okay.
Is this shift that's being described, is it because people like me, consultants, have just become sharper with our language, and so that's divided the world? Or have we truly lost our foundation that we had for 200 plus years that made us all American, and now we're fighting over the fundamentals? What do you think?
Is this a trick question?
No.
Yeah, we're fighting. We absolutely are. We have had a generation or more of the public schools actively teaching a generation of Americans to hate America. They have taught them the gospel of critical theory, that there is a class of people who are incapable of sin and another class of people who are incapable of redemption. They have taught them covetousness as a virtue. And when you have that kind of religious experience among countless millions of young people, it of course eggs on some of the older people who were already inclined that way. It also detaches people from the church. The idea that not having people who don't believe in our churches is positive, I get it, but they're not hearing the gospel. They're not hearing anything like the gospel. We were in Louisville, Kentucky a few years ago, had a big Baptist meeting there. And of course, that's the home of Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. And we go out to a Denny's late at night after the meeting, get a little bite to eat. And the waitress, 21 years old, in Louisville, Kentucky, not New York City, not LA, Louisville, Kentucky, 21-year-old waitress comes up. My friend writes John 3:16 on the bill. And she looks at it and he says, do you know what that is? She says, I think that might be from the Bible. And he says, well, it is from the Bible. Do you own a Bible? And she stopped and she just kind of got this odd look on her face. And finally she said, I think my grandmother might. That's our problem. You've got people who are very, very steeped in a false religion, a false civil atheistic religion. And you have a complete detachment of most of those people from the Christian foundation that has characterized this country since before its founding, actually, because that founding generation, of course, was rooted in the Great Awakening. That's gone for a large chunk of the population. So at its most basic, A lot of this is about evangelism, but no, the polarization is not coming from our consultants. The consultants are actually speaking to how bad it has gotten. And we're going to have that sharp debate for a while we catch back up to recreating some semblance of Christian civilization.
Yeah, so that means we have no choice but to get out in the highways and byways, to go where we're not,
Yes.
and to evangelize. But for me, all politics is downstream of culture.
Right.
So I only get to play off the image of what culture is giving off.
Yeah.
So
I
I
see.
can't.
Ooh, that's good.
I can't go in a campaign
That's
and change hearts and minds. I can only play off where the hearts and minds are.
You know, that's
I got
really
you. I
good.
got
That's
you.
really good.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. When you look at what's happening right now, that they're calling it for New York right now. And so it looks like David Bahnsen is going to come in here in a second. We're talking about whether or not he likes having a Muslim mayor, what's going to be like tomorrow. But it's interesting to me, as you were saying that, Tim, I was thinking, what came first? Was it the Muslim calls to prayer in Minnesota, or was it the mosques? It was the mosques.
Right.
I was there.
Yeah.
I was watching them throw them up.
Yeah, they didn't blare the call to prayer right away.
That wasn't what they were asking for. They weren't asking for that right away. The mosque came in and they were there 25 years ago.
Right.
And they started popping up everywhere in the areas that I was living in. So we had mosque on the corner. And let me tell you what they were replacing: the churches. Every mosque that I was around in my city, in Minneapolis, over the north side, they bought the churches and they put mosque in them. And I remember my mom was like, not in our neighborhood. And we were praying, charismatic folks, gotta love them, walking around the block praying like every day, you know. And I wish that mosque went away. Didn't, but it was interesting. They took over, and now 25 years later, what do we have? Muslim call to prayers in Minneapolis. And then came Keith Ellison. Before you got the call to prayer, you had Keith Ellison. Then you get they took over you see the same exact parallel. Minneapolis was known for taking in immigrants. We did it for people who were refugees,
Muslim immigrants.
Yes, and so we took in the Hmongs first, right? And they came in, but the Christians were there, and they helped them, they discipled them, and they became a part of the culture and society. By the time the Somalians came into Minneapolis, it was a wreck, and the institutions that were the Christian institutions that were there, the old folks had died off. And the federal government started funding them, and funding wasn't coming from the church anymore. It was coming from the federal government. So now they can put the people in the places that they want to run those institutions that were started by Christians. And so the kind of help that the Somalians got was different than the ones that the Hmongs got in Minneapolis. We had such a problem in Minneapolis with the Somalians. They would go to the Mall of America and they would wash their feet in sinks.
Yeah.
And they would say, you can't do that here. But it kept happening. It kept happening. And you know what Minneapolis did? They didn't say, oh, you stop that, don't do that here. They put in sinks at the bottom so they could wash their feet. Like, they didn't teach them to say, well, this is America. We don't do that. You have a home for that. That's where you wash your feet at. You don't wash it in the sink. And so it was all, the culture was so eroded. But that came first. The mosque came first. Then you got the politicians, and then you start getting the call to prayer. And all I had to say is, and Rod, this goes back to your point about churches. Man, I don't think we understand just how important a church is for somebody like you. A solid biblical believing church that creates such a strong culture and creates cultural. I was watching what's his name? Yeah, Wild. He does all the Yerks. What's his name? Oh, Wild Yerks. He does Paradise. It was Amish Paradise. What's his name? You guys know what I'm talking about.
Oh, Weird Al Yankovic.
Weird Al Yerks. Thank you, Greg. I can count on you for cultural references. And somebody was asking him, like, why don't you do more cultural references in songs like that anymore? He's like, because there's not a cultural bond that everybody knows anymore that I can make those kind of songs with.
Wow. Weird Al. Prophet Weird Al.
And so, but it's the same thing. Yeah, Prophet Weird Al, for real. But it was the same thing. Like, if Christianity isn't permeating the culture in such a way that it's a point for you to be able to use as a form of communicating to people, a culture that you can bind people together, then we're only playing the same game the left is playing.
Right. Yeah. Or you're in a holding pattern and you're slowly losing.
Yes.
Which is what we did in California. We slowly lost. Our job was to lose slowly.
Right.
And we did. In Orange County, we held the dam for a long time.
Wow.
Until you couldn't.
But you still think.
But before the mosques, it was the public schools.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Rod is exactly right. I mean, those have been the indoctrination centers for a long time, and it was those indoctrination centers, and they had their own call to prayer. You know,
to the state.
It was a prayer to basically to some kind of civil state, democracy, whatever, to globalist multiculturalism, such that they had been trained for a long time, for decades, that of course they would put the sinks on the floor. That's what they'd been trained in.
Right.
Otherwise, they were setting up things to be. They were hateful. They were being fascists. That was that. Of course.
Yeah.
There wasn't. They weren't being trained. They weren't being discipled in a Christian center that built this country. Greg, you seem like you wanted to say something.
Just that, well, just on that subject, it's very surreal to me that Minnesota's getting all this attention because, like we said at the top of the show, I'm about 40 minutes south of Dearborn, to where 35, 40 years ago, they started with the local councils. Then they infiltrated the educational system, and now they've fully taken over with the police force, to the point to where if you go to Dearborn and you get a permit and you want to street preach and just talk to people about Christ, the police will come up and escort you out of the city.
Wow.
You can any other religion is fine. And officially they're not Sharia law, but for all intents and purposes, the way they function and the control they have over the public school system, the police force, and the city council, it absolutely is. So this is close to home to me, to where you go, yeah, we're seeing, and they have called a prayer in Dearborn. Absolutely. Yeah. And they started replacing churches with mosques as well, too, just like everything you guys are saying. To go back to an earlier point very quickly about staying and fighting, which I think Joseph and Rod made very good points. I am a stay and fight guy. I would never say move out of your state. That's why I ran for county commissioner down here. My little local area was 65% Democrat, and I only had 75,000 people in my district. So what did I do? I went and knocked on 9,000 doors and talked to people and upset a 22-year Democrat incumbent and won by 30 votes, and then did it again in 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24. And it's by going out and touching people and talking to them. I didn't send them flyers. My opponent did, right? But I actually went to their door. What are your concerns? What do you want to see at the county done different? So a stay and fight at the local level, I think, is very, very important, because it doesn't take much to bring people out of apathy if you have one or two people that have an excitement about what we can do to make the change. Right. So I think it's very important. Like, I think, was it Joseph, you were talking about being in Seattle and going, they just don't come out. That's what it was down here in my little district. The Democrats kept winning because they just went, what's going to change? And then they found one guy in me that was excited. Said, no, all I need is your vote. That's it. One vote. Can I count on you? And I would call him. I still talk to people from 8, 9, 10 years ago that's moved out of district. Hey, remember when I voted for you? You won by 30 votes? Yeah. And we have a lifelong relationship because of it now. So stay and fight is very important. But I'll say this to finish up. Wicked times, evil times are actually very exciting for believers. When I wake up in the morning, I go, thank God I'm in a country where I homeschool my children, and all the public school kids are most likely going to work for them. Because my kids are going to outperform them in medium income, in household income, in standardized testing. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, right? And then I go, thank God that the reformed Christians have a higher birth rate, twice as high as the leftist progressives, right? Like, we're having more kids, we're building more things, we're educating our children to become business owners and leaders and influencers within their companies. You give it 20 or 30 years and we will change the culture. I truly believe that. But I think it goes back to when we say being a witness. Yes, Rod, we need the John 3:16s at the Denny's for the 21-year-old. But sometimes I think the evangelical church, the greater evangelical church, means witness just goes up to someone, bring them to church one Sunday, or have you accepted Jesus in your heart? It's a real witness when I go to someone who's a leftist, who doesn't believe in Christ, non-believer, and they go, I'm down on my luck, I can't feed my family, and I go, I can offer you a job that pays $32 an hour. Do you want to come work for me? Because I've built something over here. And he goes, how can you do that? Well, I'm a Christian. I believe in biblical principles. Let's go to Proverbs. I'll show you how to build a business correctly. That's a witness, right? And if we do that over and over, once again, going back to what CrossPolitics does, if we can get people, because I think it's an eschatology issue. When I was seeped in my dispensational premillennial, looking through a peephole and then zoomed out against the backdrop of global history, like Rod said, I've seen states flip. I'm only 44. I've seen states flip 3-4 times. I've been through it here in Michigan. He's been through it. We can change it. It's not a thing where we give up and go, oh, we run and hide and go hole up somewhere. No, we set up camp and we start changing things. We make Michigan, we make Arkansas, we make New York red, or we can say red, or I would say for Christ. And I think it's very doable.
Nevada, New Mexico.
Yeah, amen.
Colorado.
Come on, claim it.
I mean, zoom out and like you say, Greg, and I'm thinking even further out. So like Jesus ascended into heaven, and there were 12 guys, 11 guys, 100 guys, and Jesus gave them the assignment. Okay, take the world. So like, come on,
We're getting close.
I mean, like
from 12 guys, we're getting pretty close.
300 years later, the Roman Empire topples. The Roman Empire topples to Christ. The gospel then infiltrates Europe, disciples Europe from a bunch of pagan tribes, disciples England, disciples Scotland from a bunch of pagan. We're Christians should be the last people that despair. And I think it's, again, back to that point that you made, Joseph, back in the days. That's always stuck with me. It's stuck with me then, but it's like Christians, and I know you're right, Greg, the eschatology that they're getting on Sunday morning frequently is contradicting this.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is just look at church history. You are on the other side of the planet from where Jesus died and rose again and ascended to the Father's right hand. And there are millions of Christians from, again, a bunch of fishermen. And this, it's like we have no business despairing. We have no business staying home and not participating when who cares? You're outnumbered. You should still register the vote. You should still go and say, but I don't want to commie for my mayor.
Toby,
that's exactly right. Look. We're 2.4 billion people in the world who claim the name of Christ. And you can argue about whether some of them really are saved, really aren't. Only Jesus knows that. That's not my business. We went from 12 guys to 2.4 billion who want to be identified as Christians in an age of persecution. That's extraordinary. That's more than a quarter of the world right now. And we should feel the same way as conservatives. Look, here in Florida alone, we spent 2 decades winning the governor's race by an average margin of 1%. Ron DeSantis won the governor's mansion by 0.4%.
Wow.
Florida was a purple state, remember? Florida is a swing state.
Hanging Chad.
It's all about, will Florida go red or blue? Well, guess what? This last time, Ron DeSantis won by 19.4%. There are 4.5 million new registered Republican voters in America, and 40% of them are in Florida. We have a voter registration majority in Florida for the first time literally ever. So, there's no reason for us to be pessimistic. There's reason for us to knuckle down and work. And that's true in the church, and that's true in politics.
Okay, so
if I can respond to Rod's point very quickly, to go back to my original point. When Ron DeSantis started as governor, there were 300,000 more registered Republicans than Democrats. Today, there are 1.4 million more registered Republicans than Democrats. And it is true that every state in the union has sent more Republicans than Democrats to Florida during his term. Because,
but Governor DeSantis went on offense, and we have 435 members of the House. We have half of those, and I wish that every single member of the House would go on offense, because he had Jeremy Redfern and James Uthmeyer, who's now the Attorney General there, and they went on offense and they built a state around him so that he never had to go through another tight election. If our members of Congress would do that, and we saw it so many times, we would elect a member of Congress, we'd be like, okay, now you got to work it. Well, I don't know.
Slow down. So I want to bring David Bahnsen in.
Allahu Akbar, Allah.
Hey, that's what you're gonna be hearing tomorrow morning. Just want you to know that.
Allahu Akbar, Allah.
Stop it.
That's so
I just wanted him to get warm up to it before he hears tomorrow, so he don't freak out.
I used to blame David for California's problems. now, I don't know what it is, but David it makes me mad right now. Because I blame you for New York City and their Muslim mayor. I don't know why. I don't know why, but I do, and I'm fixing to blame you on Minneapolis too. But let's talk about New York. David, you actually live in New York and California. I got two questions for you, but the first one is why did New York City? The way I've heard you talk about New York City in the past, you seem to kind of talk about like New York is a little more reasonable state than California, and now I feel like New York City's not that really reasonable.
Well, there's a few things to say here. By the way, Gabe, it's great to be with you.
No, I'm not. You got to answer the question first before I welcome you.
I wouldn't have done you like that, David. Just so you know.
You have tonight. If the primary had gone with some form of reasonable center-left moderate Democrat, which New York has had plenty of those over the years. If you have one of them win the primary, you have tonight an 80-20 win for that candidate. What you had here that created tonight is a disgraced former governor who had no business running, that ran in the primary with donors behind him that believed he couldn't lose the primary.
Right.
And he did. And this thing was over then. Now, people could say if Adams had dropped out right away and if Curtis had not run, but you're talking about if this, where you had you have 15% Republican registration, okay? So no matter what, that's off the table. And I would recommend to Democrats to not try to primary a moderate Democrat who can win in Maine. And I recommend to Republicans to sometimes recognize the best possible candidate you're going to get. And for example, people that would say Susan Collins has to go because she's pro-choice, but who gave us the vote that gave us Kavanaugh? It was Susan Collins. Who gave the Democrats hated Joe Manchin, hated him. He ran originally for senator in West Virginia by an ad shooting the cap and trade bill with a gun. Who was the tie-breaking vote for the big Biden Green Energy Inflation Reduction Act? Joe Manchin.
Yeah.
And so my point on this is that there are sometimes you have to go with a more winnable, reasonable candidate. What happened is no one took Mamdani seriously. And had Cuomo taken him seriously, he could have crushed them in the primary. And then he's gone and we're not having the conversation. You didn't have 51% of New Yorkers say, I want a socialist mayor. It just isn't true. But what you have is a ton of apathy, and you have a really complicated mess with the Eric Adams thing lingering around, this geriatric, awful, disgraced governor candidate. He was going to be the independent to go pull off against Mamdani, what Lisa Murkowski pulled off in Alaska. It's like a 1 in 100 chance of pulling that off when a major candidate loses in a primary to come run as an independent and win. Rod could correct me. I can only think of 2 or 3 times that's actually ever worked. So this thing was over at the primary, and now New Yorkers will hate this guy in a few weeks, and they will throw him out in a few years. Rinse and repeat.
What would happen to Eric Adams? Why couldn't he overcome his trials?
Well, Eric Adams had no interest in being mayor, and so he came in because the city did not want the socialist progressive who was running against him 4 years ago. And that it was the MSNBC gal, and forgive me, I don't even remember her name. She was awful. And Adams was a former cop that was running on a pro-police, not an anti-police message. But he's a bizarre guy. He wasn't a administrator, and like I was very critical of Bloomberg over the years because I don't want to offend any of the Maha crowd, but I'm still against the whole idea of the government running our healthcare. And I used to think Bloomberg was a bad mayor, because of all his rules against like cigarettes and soda pop. Yeah. Well, I think I'd take Bloomberg. Bloomberg was a wonderful mayor from a technocratic standpoint. I mean, ideologically, he's bad on guns, he's bad on the environment, but like he knew how to run an organization. And so the Mamdani thing is going to be bad because people say, well, he's anti-Semitic, which he is. He's pro-jihadi, which he is. He's socialist, which he is. But just put all ideology aside, which is hard for ideologues like us to do. He's completely unqualified to run a milk route, let alone the most complicated city in the country. So this is not going to go well.
Yeah, it blew my mind that Governor Cuomo thought he could win an election again in New York. I mean, even today, he was apologizing. I don't know if you guys saw this. No. He was apologizing on ABC or CBS or something for him overseeing all the deaths during COVID.
Oh, wow.
For the nursing home deaths, everything. He apologized.
Wow.
He's like, I was trying to listen to the best experts and it didn't work and people died under my watch and I'm sorry for it. I'm like, so the baggage that he had going in, he's obviously trying to apologize for like his last ditch effort to get the conservatives to not vote for the Republican candidate. But even if you take the Republican candidate out of this, he had something like 60,000 votes, and that still was not the difference between Mamdani and Cuomo.
Yeah.
So you still had a problem. But for Governor Cuomo to think that he could somehow, even as an independent, as you just pointed out, win the New York City election was, I mean, what a mind-boggling decision. And yeah,
well,
I
agree, but Dave, don't give others a pass here either. The donors that told him he could win deserve some of this. Well, I mean, there's just absolutely no question that some center-left Democrat could have won, and it did not have to have the last name Cuomo. And so this sort of dynastic thing in American politics is very out right now. You know who told me that? Well, what was her name? Hillary Clinton.
Another New Yorker. Another New Yorker.
Yeah, you believe that? I'll tell you another one. But you see what I'm saying? Like, there's a sense in which Americans don't like multi-generational, dynastic political things. Cuomo's biggest selling point when he first entered politics, and if you remember, he was Bill Clinton's Secretary of Housing Urban Development when he was only in his 30s. And it was that he was Mario Cuomo's son. And Governor Mario Cuomo was a popular New York governor. He was a very liberal guy, but he was popular. But that whole kind of nepotistic, dynastic thing, it just isn't a selling point. There needed to be donors. And I've said this in California forever, that why I just, hang up on people constantly when they'll come and tell me this is the Republican that's going to win. And I say, you mean this is the Republican that's going to lose by 18 instead of by 19?
Exactly.
Donors have to quit flushing money down the toilet.
So, David, and maybe this, Rod, you might have some information on this too, but like, there's a lot of, news flying around, whether it's true or not, but like talking about how Muslim Care Organization threw so much money into this race and support behind Mamdani, and then George Soros money coming in behind Mamdani. I mean, is that true?
Best I can tell, yes. I mean, this is exactly where they want to be, and this is a huge win for CARE. So, I think they'll rue the day. I think David's exactly right. This is going to fall apart. The wheels are going to come off this reasonably quickly. It is possible, I guess, that he has some hidden talent for administration that nobody knows about. But New York is 3 times the size of the second largest city in this country, and it's pretty complicated. He doesn't know how to run anything, and that's before you get to his terrible, terrible beliefs that if he's able to implement, will just ruin the city. And, it'll be great because finally David will move down here to Florida where he ought to be.
That's the question. Actually, I got two questions. I should never load it with two questions.
The Texas a stock exchange.
Yeah, I see what he's doing.
Yeah.
David, what would it take for you to move out of New York? That's one question. Okay, so just hold that over. I want you to tuck that in your pocket for a moment. Here's the question I really want to ask, though. What would it take for a conservative that you and I would really like to win New York as a mayor? And how long would it take for them to do that?
I don't know that is winnable, depending on what you mean by a conservative that you and I would like. There's plenty of people that I could like that could win mayor, but not that I would like as an ideological Reaganite conservative.
Yes.
But as a sort of effective, pragmatic person, I mean, the Giuliani of old, was an effective mayor, the one that beat Dinkins back in the day up through 9/11 was an effective mayor, but he wouldn't have been considered a traditional, Reaganite conservative at that time. And then I would say that Bloomberg was a very center-left independent. He actually ran as a Republican when he first won, and he shifted to independent. But so there is a sort of technocratic skill set. Let's not forget that Pataki was governor of New York for 2 terms. This is in my adult life, not my childhood. And then Giuliani and Bloomberg, we've had far more Republican mayor and governor in New York in my adult life than not. But then the quality of the Democrats, when you look at a de Blasio in more recent times, now Mamdani, versus the Ed Koch of the 80s, most Republicans would line up to vote for Ed Koch compared to a Mamdani or a de Blasio.
Knox, did you have a follow up on that? Because I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
This actually, for the three of you, and I'm going to start with you, Greg, on this question. We've talked on the show in the past. You think about just the kind of the recent. Let's always do my lifetime. 40 years. In the last 40 years, can you name one city or state that was conservative and the Democrats captured it? Austin, Texas, Dallas, Texas, Colorado. Kind of go through a list, where conservatives built it, controlled it, and then Democrats took it over. Well, I can't think of the reverse of that, where Democrats built the city or reigned it for, oversaw the leadership for a long time, where conservatives came and took it over.
Oh, but I must differ.
California?
I live in the South. Every southern state was Democrat and one party Democrat in my lifetime. And actually,
FaceTime video.
Mike Huckabee never even had 1/3 of either house of his state legislature in Arkansas. And now Sarah Huckabee has super majorities everywhere. So no. Republicans flip states too, and lots of them, we just take them for granted because we don't remember that they were all yellow dog Democrats just not that long ago.
But Rod, I think he said cities though, not states. Is that right?
I said cities or states. Cities or states.
I would say Rod's 100% right. The history is very important, and he's using the best examples out there, these southern states that were basically assumed to be Democrat that have all flipped. And I would say though, Rod, that there's even stuff more recent than the kind of southern state reversals where why were those states that were basically somewhat conservative and had certain Reaganite notions behind them, but in the post-Civil Rights Act moment, those states went what were assumed to be lifetime Democrat, but it turned out not to be lifetime, as you point out. But I think the city of Miami and the city of Dallas are examples now. I'm sitting in Dallas right now. My company has an event here this week, and I opened an office here earlier this year. But the mayor here was a Democrat who had to switch to Republican.
Yes.
The mayor in Miami is a Republican. Miami was not part of the controversy of Bush Gore in 2000. That was a Democrat city for life.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
Well, and not just those, but earlier I was talking about those South Texas counties that went, in some cases, 35-point margin for Hillary, and now they're voting for Trump. And it's just extraordinary. And it shows what happens when you're serious about your messaging and you're serious about your organizing. And we've certainly done that tremendously well in Florida.
Wait.
But
So
I'm sorry.
No, you're chalking this up that it's a messaging thing that overturned these states. I have a hard time buying that. I'm trying to think what is happening in these states or these cities where they're going from Democrat to conservative. How are they winning?
Well, let's go the other way. Look at New York. So Eric Adams got 753,000 votes. Cuomo got 844,000 votes in a loss, more than Adams got in a win. And there's 2 million voters showed up in New York. But
they didn't have to show ID, so it didn't really count.
Well, and Mandami got 50% of the vote. He got 1 million votes, and that hasn't happened since 1950 whatever in New York. So something lit that fire in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And these are unprecedented numbers for modern elections in New York. And it's just the fact again that Cuomo beat Adams. If it was Cuomo v. Adams, he would have won.
Look at the turnout in New Jersey tonight as well. That Republican is going to lose by more than double the amount that Harris beat Trump by. So there's a turnout issue. And again, it's a weird off year, but there's a big turnout energy on some of these Democrat victories tonight. No question.
Do you think that any of this is a report card on Trump, David?
Yeah. We have to do this.
Do I have to do this?
Yes, because you love me.
I start working at 3:45 every morning. I do. I guess I always have the energy for truth telling. No, I don't in New York mayor. I don't. I think that's a unique, idiosyncratic thing with the atrocity of the candidates and then Mamdani's youth and energy and social media skill. Yeah, I think that there is no reason for Republicans to be energized and turn out in races like a Virginia governor, a New Jersey governor, where they didn't feel that they were really necessarily in it. These were hardly, purple states. I mean, they're basically blue states. Yeah. And a really good candidate in Youngkin beat a really bad incumbent with McAuliffe a number of years ago. But Virginia, New Jersey are not a bellwether for the whole country, but they are states that hate Trump. There's no question. And I don't think there's a great energy or animating central message right now for the right, but I'm not going to extrapolate it into 28. What I will say is this. I believe right-wing populism is a parasite, and I believe left-wing populism eats it for breakfast. And if we want to run a candidate that is Mamdani light in the future, that we're right-wing people that are anti-DEI and we're pro-life and we're for good judges, but we're also for the government being your nanny state. They are going to do it better, and they are better on social media. So I do not sit here being smug about AOC like some of my friends do. I think that she is a viable national contender if we don't get our act together on the right.
Yeah, she is. That's absolutely true. And actually, I was saying that before you got on tonight, David. She's for real. And we all want to, caricature her as this idiot. And in some ways, maybe she is. But she's really good at what she does. She's attractive. She's young. And let's be real. She's a socialist. She speaks for the young people of the Democrat Party. And socialist for a lot of these folks isn't really an ideology as much as sort of a catchword that means hardcore. We went through that a little bit not long ago in the Republican Party with the word libertarian. Lots and lots and lots of young people called themselves libertarians who I don't think could define the word. I mean, they clearly hadn't read Hayek. They didn't know anything. But they thought libertarian sounded more hardcore than conservative. So you've got a bunch of people who will flock to that. That is a real thing. Can she pull it off? Honestly, in many, many respects, that's on us. We're going to have to run just a killer candidate. If it's Vance, I think he's up to the challenge. But we're going to have to get very serious about turnout and organization. That's the other half of it. I was talking about message earlier, but half of what I said was about organizing. South Texas didn't start voting Republican just because. You know, the messaging was right, but we also got down there and did the work.
The thing I guess I'd say where David asked me about Trump and his role in this, the thing is that he basically is an incredibly good candidate for any race he's running in. You know, he's won twice and he got far closer than had been expected in the other time. And then I can't think of a race in this 10-year period that was supposed to be close that he wasn't on the ballot, that the Republicans ended up pulling off a win. And there's another political athlete in our lifetime that was true about, who was very good at winning races for himself, but his party was not doing well during his run, and that's Barack Obama. They lost a ton of governor mansions, a ton of Senate seats when he was president, but he won 2 presidential elections pretty easily. So I guess I don't know yet if the current Trumpist moment, what that looks like electorally, nationally, when he's not the headliner. I don't think any of us can say we know how that plays out.
You know, and just, you know, I'm still thinking about David. I don't know if you told me what it would take for you to leave New York. Did you answer that question?
No, you didn't.
No. Look, I mean, I didn't know what it was going to take to have me move to New York. I mean, I do not consider the political people that are in office the primary consideration of where I live. I have family, work, church, all sorts of circumstances that drive the decisions I make. I have a very high energy life, and the energy of New York City is infectious, and I wish more Christians would adopt it and make it part of their own lifestyle. So New York having a mayor I don't like, or being a liberal city, would not make me go. But I will. The hard part of your question is not that I think people are going to get upset at me ideologically, because you probably know that I really don't care.
I thought you care so much.
It's that Yankee hot sauce I can't do, man.
Yeah, right. The challenge is that what I'm about to say, I know can be misconstrued, but when you look at the quality of life issues, I say this as a criticism of these blue states, but there is not quality of life problems for somebody with money in California or New York.
Right.
Now, that may help answer why I don't mind living in these states. But the reason I say it is not to talk about my own economic situation and give you the context as to why I can put up with certain things. I say it as an indictment of these blue states that have said, vote for us. We're the ones that will take care of the middle class, the disenfranchised, etc. Every blue state is a great place to be on welfare or a great place to be wealthy. And they become terrible places for middle class people. And so I'm acknowledging that I have a certain, ability to not have to deal with what many quality of life issues other people might deal with. Yeah. But I say it as an indictment on the state's leadership. I really do.
Yeah. So you said earlier, I don't know if it was David or Rod, but I'd like to hear both of you talk about the promises that Mamdani has made. I think you both have referenced, if he's able to do this, they're going to hate him in, what'd you say, 3 weeks, David? And then we're going to get rid of him. My question is he going to pull off what he's promised to do? Not a chance.
Not a chance.
Okay. Why not? Explain.
You still have to have city council votes. You still have to go deal with committees. You still have to go get buy-in from police and fire and unions and teachers. It's like when Schwarzenegger came into California. Rod probably remembers this, even though he wasn't Californian, but Rod knows this national political landscape. Schwarzenegger genuinely believed that he was a charming enough guy, a famous guy, a likable guy, and a moderate guy, which I think all those things were probably true, and that he thought the unions are going to sit down and be reasonable with him. Yeah. And reasonable meant Arnold
sign the bill, get into the chopper.
What's that?
He said, sign the bill and get in the chopper.
but basically, Mamdani's not going to be able to get those things done. When I said if he gets them done, they won't like him in 3 weeks. When he can't go get a bunch of government-run grocery stores, then his people start to turn on him. That's always the danger of populism. It's all candidly, guys. That's why I've been very critical of telling people in certain states that all these jobs are coming back that I know are not coming back, and that most grown-ups know are not coming back. And then what happens is when they don't come back, voters get mad at you. So the socialist promises of Mamdani are not going to happen, but he can still do a lot of damage. I'm not saying that an anti-Semite of his ideology and whatnot is not going to be, just if nothing else, bully pulpit and symbolically. De Blasio was still a disaster. There's really bad things that can happen. But you're asking, Pastor, specifically about those most extreme campaign promises, and they are not things a mayor is empowered to do, period. Okay.
I'm just curious. I mean, he's that's what he's gotten famous for. So I mean, that's all this child care. He has people chanting. We're gonna have free transportation. I'm gonna freeze rents. All this kind of stuff. And you think he's just blowing smoke?
I was gonna fly out to New York just for one of those free bus rides.
but he will have a little bit of energy because of the landslide effect, because he got that historic vote turnout. Yeah. There's going to be some people that give him the room he wants, but I agree with David. I mean, the guy's going to be a disaster. He's going to be wonderful for my party because we're all going to get to point to New York and say, look at this moron.
Exactly.
Yeah. What? How do you I guess answer the fact? It sounds like the last mayoral election had about 1.1 million votes or something. Yeah. Is that between both candidates too?
Between everybody, yeah.
And how do we go from 1.1 to 2 million?
It's energy. It's campaign. It's movement. It was a movement campaign, clearly, right? And it brought people out. Right? We have to look at the demographics. Probably brought a lot of young people. It's just it's very Barack Obama like, right? Where we had these turn. It was very Donald Trump like. I think Trump 2024 was a movement. Yeah. I was high energy. Incidentally, Rod, just to encourage you, my firm was part of Elon Musk's super PAC in 2024. We were assigned to Nevada, in rural Nevada, and we ran up the score. We won Nevada for the first time in a long time. So we do have this infrastructure for turnout as long as Elon's still on the team, which I believe he is. But I think Republicans have come.
Especially after Trump just named Jared Isaacman to run NASA today,
right?
Unexpectedly and without any explanation whatsoever. And it's worth noting that not very long after Elon announced the America Party, which just went poof, which just never happened. No papers filed, nothing. He proceeded to write I believe a $10 million check to the RNC or the RNC and related committees, and a $5 million check to Trump's super PAC. So clearly
it's so fun watching billionaires make up, isn't it? That's how they make up. Here's a $10 million check to your super PAC.
On that score, I do think Republicans have come of age of the ground game. And David could say this. I mean, for years or decades in California, we did not like the ground game. We would prefer to go to the events. And we got worked. We got worked by the Democrats. And so that's encouraging.
Tim,
anyway.
Go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh, yeah. So I think Mamdani was a movement.
Yeah.
And we'll see how far he can get.
How did he get a movement so
the
quick?
Other thing about those numbers, by the way, the other thing about those numbers is that the New York has 400,000 more people than it did 4 years ago, because in 2021, you still had a significant amount of people that were out of state, had moved out of state, were either temporarily or saying they were permanently gone, and you had 400,000 people come back over the last 4 years. So I think that over half of that voter turnout delta is exactly what he said: enthusiasm, movement. Mamdani animated those younger people in the outer boroughs. There's no question. But then a few 100,000 of it is just that the population base is higher as well.
But that's a little hard for me to understand. It adds another, I guess, kink in the hose here, because those people left the state likely because of Cuomo, and then they come back and vote for Mamdani to socialist harder.
Well, no, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I don't think it's that simple. I don't think that you're talking about people who left because they were mad at Cuomo and then came back to vote for Mamdani. I'm more referring to the total denominator because, like he said, Cuomo got more votes than Adams got. So a lot of them left because their companies weren't making them go to work at the time. You know, there were still lockdowns and shutdowns and other just COVID policy things. I mean, 2021, the COVID thing was still kind of going and the city wasn't really back to life. And so for those of us who've been there the last few years, it's been busier, more crowded, more energetic than ever. Like the people came back, but they weren't back in 2021. And so more folks came back. And then, by the way, a lot of those Mamdani voters are first-time voters. They're Bronx and Queens and Brooklyn young people, and they weren't voting in 2021.
Why are we so bad at social media? And I don't think
conservatives,
Republicans. Really?
I think we're better at memeing. Have you seen the Democrat memes?
Yeah, the memes.
Oh
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but it doesn't carry the same sort of momentum though, because what I watch us do, unfortunately, I think maybe people don't know how it works, but I watch us make superstars out of somebody like AOC. I'm thinking about what David talked about earlier. Her social media game is amazing, not because everybody on her team shares her stuff, but she gets all the Republicans to share her stuff and talk about her more than anybody else. And so it energizes the other side while we're laughing at her. She's gaining. Like she's a meme to us. She's a joke to us. And yet she's actually a contender.
It's because while Democrats are on social media, the Republicans are out running their company.
Yeah.
Well, plus,
we're working.
Media, aren't we just talking to our own people? Isn't she just talking to her own people at the end of the day? And we're laughing at her, and then we're talking to our own people, and she's laughing at us. But, I mean, has anybody's mind changed?
No,
I don't know.
Well, you don't think it creates momentum and energy?
It creates an appearance of momentum that you then take to the donors and get cash for, and then create real momentum.
Yeah.
Got you.
I mean, I do think. I mean, Greg's right. I mean, I think. I mean, this is our. I think perennial challenge is Christians and conservative people have a life. Politics isn't our God. It's not our religion. We worship the true God. We have a church. We have families. We have businesses. We have schools. And then our downfall, our fault is that we have often neglected the public square. We've often neglected politics, even though that's also part of the created order that God requires us to take dominion of. And but we have, and so I think frequently we're busy with other really good things. And so, I don't think, I think social media is part of it. We're also probably Christians tend to be late adopters. I mean, we tend to be, we're conservative. We're like, I don't know how this is going to work out. I mean, ask the average Christian what we think of AI right now.
Yeah.
I mean, except for you.
Right.
Everybody else
speech on AI at Fight Laugh Feast was fantastic.
Yeah. And that's why we asked you to give the talk. I wanted you to pitch it. I want us to think ambitiously. I want us to think in terms of dominion over all of creation. But again, I mean, there's good reasons for that because we know that there's dangerous things out there, and so Christians can tend to be conservative. We are conservative, but we're not early adopters usually. We don't tend to be we're not the leaders, and I mean, and again, there's downsides to this in terms of entrepreneurialism. We don't tend to be the starters, and there's, again, sometimes positive reasons for that. And I think there's also a lot of negative reasons for that because we are kind of cowardly. Sometimes we are fearful. Sometimes we are not as ambitious. We're not as faithful and courageous as we ought to be. But I think all of those things play a part. And I don't know, that's not necessarily a slam dunk.
We're traditionalists. You're right, Toby. And what happens, though, is the ones that embrace technology within the Republican Party rise to the top very quickly. I can only go to my personal experience, but in 2016, I had the state chair of the Michigan GOP call me and go, "Hey, I hear you're running for county commissioner. We want to give you $5,000. And I go, "Why would you want to do that? I'm a county commissioner. It's a local race. You should be looking at state reps and senators." And she said, a lady called Ronna Romney McDaniel, said it's because we want to start a bench system to where we're going deep into the locals and we're starting to procure talent. So that way, when you do want to run for state rep or state senator, you will have that relationship and we've supported you and we know what you're all about. Well, guess what? 2 years later, she's out of there because they recognize that intelligence. She helped me win my race. She helped a lot of locals win a lot of races in Michigan, and she embraced social media. She was doing the texting before that became very big. She had walk apps installed for all of the local, free access to all walk apps. I could walk up to a door. I knew how they voted in the last 8 years. Were they Republican, Dem, soft, hard Republican? So it was beautiful thing. But she went right to, she's gone. Hey, Trump took her, and so it's like we need to embrace that technology too. But to Toby's point, it's because I think philosophically or ideologically, we are more traditional. We're slow embracers most of the time on the conservative side.
Hey, David, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. I
think he has to run after this
and
too.
You got to go because you got to go.
It's bedtime.
You got to go take over.
He's up at 3:45 in the morning.
No, I know he needs to go take over Dallas. But I'm curious. I just reread your book full time, by the way, which I want to thank you for again. Although I do want to point out, I remembered as I was rereading it, you inscribed it for me. That was very nice of you, and I appreciate that. It was very kind of you. But my students, I told you this actually over a message. I just taught your book to New St. Andrews elective, and they had all bought the book, and they told me that their book has frequently asked questions in the back that my book does not have. And I just want to say, what happened?
You got an early copy?
I don't know, but anyways, no. My real question is honestly, I'm thinking about that book. I'm thinking about your call to work, to take initiative, that we were made for work, that the meaning of life is work, that this is how we glorify God. And I'm thinking to myself, is that part of our problem here, maybe in different respects, that we, do a decent job. Maybe we get as far as starting we homeschool our kids. We found a decent church, and then we're like, all right, that's good enough. But we're only getting up at 5:45 to get all that done. And we really need to, we need to be carving out more time. We need to be working harder because we need the civil sphere to honor Christ. And we need to be, we got to be hitting this ground game, and we need to be figuring out what's going on with technology, and we got to be figuring out what's going on with business. And again, recognizing, as I know you would, that we're called to different things, and there's a division of labor, and that's a glorious thing. But nevertheless, is part of our problem that we've seeded this ground because we are simply we are not working the way we ought to work.
Well, that would be my view, and it's different than the idea that we lose elections because we're not into politics enough because we're so busy out there being dominionist in our work. I kind of don't want to let Christians off the hook so easily. I think that a lot of times, we need to do better in all of the above. And if somebody came to me and said, would you rather Christians, you can only pick one, and you need to change the world, and the one thing is either going to be that Christians are all going to be better in their careers or they're going to be better in election turnout, I don't have to think about that very hard. Their careers are the forum for dominion, the forum for obedience, the forum for living out creational directives, and for giving meaning and joy to their own lives. The political thing still matters. There's a whole lot of room for improvement. But I think that if we were doing better in our work, the political thing would happen a lot easier. I think that there would be much more fertile soil. We'd be more respected in various industries. There'd be more influence. There'd be more voice. There'd be more reach. Work is a very powerful tool for evangelism, but I actually mean evangelism there in a very broad sense. Not only the important part, which is gospel and salvific, but also being in a position to share truth across other spheres of life. And I don't have very much interest in hearing about politics or hearing about economics or hearing about what I'm supposed to think on a given issue from someone who's a walking mediocrity.
Yeah.
I think that where Christians earn respect, they're going to have it to then go be influential in other spheres like politics.
That's really it's the training ground. It's if we're faithful there and taking dominion in our vocation and really killing it there, going all the way, then we're going to be in a better place, and God's going to raise us, some of us, up to be leaders in the political sphere, or else we're at least going to be in a better position to lead our neighbors to elect the right guys.
Hey, go ahead, David.
No, I totally agree. And I think that some of those vocational things will be political, some will be staff, some will be writing.
Yeah.
One thing I want to say, when we talk about like we need to do memes better, I don't disagree. I admit I'm too old and not cool and not in that world, but I accept that we need to do that better. But you know what else we need to do better is policy, is research, is analysis. So I'm kind of resistant to this new idea that for years and years, Republicans were losing elections because all they were doing was writing white papers. And now, we need to win elections by not caring about policy anymore. I mean, we can walk and chew gum, guys. We can run savvy campaigns and be the smarter party. I just don't accept that those things are mutually exclusive.
I was thinking earlier too, just even like when we're talking about socialism and communism taking over, and like Ronald Reagan, like the fact that you remember him. I'm just thinking of the famous line of, what's the scariest words, whatever's the
Scariest
nine scariest words in the English language. I'm from the government. I'm here to help you. Yeah. How many words is that? It's getting too late. But it's, there's an example though of catchy.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And deep.
Great merger. Yep.
That's catchy. I will remember that. We will remember that. Yeah. And that is based on truth. And we need to learn how to marry those things again.
People describe me.
David, thank you, brother. Appreciate your time. We know you got to run, man.
Thank you so much, David.
Thank you, David. All right. So before we move on, we're going to bring Jeff in here, but I just want to say real quick, shout out to Greg Moore and to Rod Martin. Yes. Thank you guys.
Hanging with us the whole time, brothers.
You guys, I appreciate you guys so much. I love doing this with you guys. Yeah. You guys are fantastic.
You're always the first two, maybe three off the top of our heads.
Every time.
You guys are awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
So Dead Man Walking Podcast, which is on the Fight Laugh Feast Network.
Check it out.
Greg Moore is fantastic.
Rod Martin.
I'm getting there. Hold on. Wait a minute. Yeah. But Greg did a bunch of interviews at the conference too. So, and thank you for doing that. Greg is fast. His podcast moves quickly. He wastes no breaths. Yeah. It is
got a lot to talk about, baby.
Yes, and somebody who I wish was on the Fight Laugh Feast Network.
Dude, we've been trying for years. I've given up.
But Rod Martin, the Rod Martin Report, guys, just go his Substack.
RodMartin.org.
Is it .org? I'm sorry. .org. I just go to the Substack. That's where I get everything from.
Rod was born in the 60s. That's where you get that .org from.
Okay. He always is
Barely. October of 69.
That's how you get that .org though.
Rod, I have to know, do you have inside people that are dropping you information? Like, because you have more inside folks than communists had inside of America in the 1920s.
And that's saying something. And yes, I have a lot of friends in a lot of places, and we talk. So if people want to come to rodmartin.org, they will get daily geopolitical analysis that Fox Business has called absolutely phenomenal. So come to rodmartin.org. There's a lot going on there every single day, and you'll be glad you did.
And not just that, but CrossPolitic calls it phenomenal. And we want his show on the network.
And CrossPolitic.
Yeah.
You guys give this guy a hard time because he's from Minneapolis.
Oh yeah. It's his fault.
What's up, brother?
It's his fault.
Jeff, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Okay.
Hey, well, yeah, I feel very welcomed already. It's great.
Oh, is he here? Welcome.
That's right.
Oh, where's mine?
So, Jeff, Minneapolis, you're in the Twin Cities. You're actually south of Minneapolis, right?
You're not going to give him the call?
Did you wake up to that every morning, don't you, Jeff?
I do, yeah. Chocolate Knox, when you come to visit, come on.
I lived there for a while, and I left, and I don't think they let me come back in.
No, you can come back. You're welcome anytime.
I love Minneapolis. Minneapolis is a great place. When I got there, I mean, it really helped us transform our family. My mom was going through a divorce, And the ministries that were there in Minneapolis at the time in the early 90s were phenomenal to help people get on their feet.
Wow.
And and so Minneapolis has a very special place in my heart. I grew up there rollerblading on the streets, you know, and so I love South Minneapolis and North Minneapolis. Those were home to me. And so to see, you know, by the time I left, you know, the Somalians had taken over for the most part, and Islam has started to grow. Keith Ellison was just entering office at the time. And now to see that you guys have a Muslim, did you get, actually, what happened? What is going on in Minneapolis? Did you guys get a Muslim mayor?
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but there are elections today. And so we'll be deciding who is our new mayor this evening. And we have ranked choice voting. So that's a little,
that's
funky.
up for vote too?
Well,
do have ranked
it's not
choice.
for vote. It's the way that the residents of Minneapolis are voting. I don't live in Minneapolis proper, so I can't go and cast a legitimate vote there today. But we will see whether or not Jacob Fry, who's been the mayor for 2 terms, survives and continues on for a 3rd term, or if our current senator Omar Fateh, if he is, who seems to be the best challenger to him or the most competitive with him, we'll see if he is able to take the mayor's office. But challenges there. But Knox, come on. I mean, Minneapolis, you got to explain to everybody the difference, and I can do it too, but better from you. Minneapolis and St. Paul, the Twin Cities, they are very different cities. Can you, how would you explain in like 30 seconds because they're culturally very different, the ethos is different, and yet there's a similar political vibe that's going on. But how would you describe?
I think I was too young. By the way, Fry is at 42% and Fateh is at 32%. So here we go. You know, so this is how I thought about it in Minneapolis. I was too young to know the political gauges at the time. I wasn't involved in politics by the time we had left. I just got married, had my first kid, and wasn't really that engaged in the political world at that moment. But the difference between the 2 cities is I would think of St. Paul as being far more family, generational built, and has roots that go back, you know, further than most people that were in Minneapolis. A lot of people in Minneapolis, when people came to Minnesota, they were there for their first time. A friend had told them to come to Minneapolis, either from Chicago or Illinois, or wherever they were. A lot of Chicago people came at the time to get on their feet. And so Minneapolis had a very welcoming, friendly, inviting arm. And St. Paul wasn't necessarily that way. It was, you're on your feet, you're doing your thing. We have our community, very closer knit community. Minneapolis was very disconnected outside of the ministries, inviting kind of a smaller towns feel than St. Paul. St. Paul felt like it was way more established, had a lot more family driven culture than Minneapolis. Is that fair enough to say?
Yeah, that's the culture, I think, has changed a little bit. Impressions obviously they vary between different people, but I've heard that a lot from people who lived here when you did. We moved here in 2010. So I'm not a native Minnesotan, but I've really loved being in the cities, loved the state. There are a lot of things that are just amazing about being here. The Lord has been very, very kind. And we actually probably should go back to the ministries in a moment to give God glory for what he's doing in the greater state of Minnesota, despite all the challenges. But the Minnesota Twins, if you go to their ballpark, it's 2 figures that are shaking hands across a river, across the Mississippi, which the headwaters are in northern Minnesota, and everybody's smiling and it's all nice. But the gesture that's there with that image is trying to bring unity between 2 different cities that are very different. So the way I would explain it, and I don't disagree with Knox here, but many people think of St. Paul as being the westernmost East Coast city. And they think of Minneapolis being the easternmost West Coast city, and you have a collision between those cities.
Very succinct. And that's way better.
Yeah, it's fascinating, and both have their pockets of family-friendly, community-driven, like local school, private or public, sports teams, all this. But it is an amazing melting pot that's thrilling at one point. Like, I love it that the nations are in our backyard. I love it the Somalis are here. I love it that we've got just wild, and there's a neighborhood in which I'm not joking, this is not hyperbole, There are over 100 languages spoken in 8 blocks. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
And
Yeah,
so
I lived in that. I didn't like it so much.
yeah, well, I understand there are real challenges too, right? It's not all dreamy.
Wow. Yeah.
But you think about the opportunity, right? Like we're commanded to go to the nations, and God has brought the nations here. And the problem is, if we're complacent and we sit on our hands, we don't engage in exalting Christ in all things. And I'm riffing off of Piper here, the supremacy of Christ in all things. And this makes John probably a little uncomfortable, but he's a good man, and I'm thankful for him and such. But like the political sphere, the public sphere, our communities, actually the supremacy of Christ really matters. And churches need to get off the benches and into the game. I was listening to the end of the talk with David Bahnsen. I feel badly, like I'm following him. I'm like B team or C team compared to Bahnsen. And he's a great guy. I'm glad you snagged him. But there's a lot of that people, we feel, since politics is not our God, we don't bow down. We don't cry out, "Oh, save us, Caesar." And yet we are called to be those who love our neighbors, which will necessarily engage us in politics. Like what is most loving to our neighbors? And then also just the character of God as far as governance. What does it look like to govern wisely and justly and mercifully? And government can either reflect that well or poorly, but just like a husband can reflect God being a good head of his family or a poor one, but necessarily he is a head. So same too with government. And we're in this crisis right now of government.
Uh-oh, we just lost his audio. We just lost your audio, Jeff. Can you hear us? Jeff, can you hear us? Blink twice.
Uh-oh.
We lost your audio, Jeff. Go ahead.
Greg, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I think we just need to play my Detroit call to prayer.
Only God can do it. Only God can
Come on
do
now.
it. Only God can do it. Only God can do it.
I still got that.
Come on.
It looks like do we still
Got
haven't
him back?
gotten Jeff back? No, he's not back yet.
Jeff, your sound is gone.
Yeah, I think
Well, if he's
what'd you
not
say?
back, let me address something from the last segment.
Yes, please.
We have been talking a lot about the need to organize. We've been talking a lot about the importance of work. We've been talking a lot about, on occasion, politics being downstream from culture. One of the things we have to understand is that the entire purpose of the left is to invert that, to make politics primary, to make culture downstream from politics. That's what they've done in every country they've truly gotten control of. That's certainly the case in the Soviet Union, certainly the case in China, certainly the case in Cambodia, certainly the case in Cuba. They want very much to be able to dictate every aspect of culture in a political way, in the same way you see the party do in Oceania in Orwell's 1984. That's what we're fighting. And the truth of the matter is, if you want politics to be downstream from culture, if you want people to be free to live a normal life and not have to think about this stuff 24/7, we're going to have to go through a period where we do, where we actually fight the fight we're in. If you're going to beat these people, yes, you're going to have to do some of the things that they're doing. You're not going to do the corrupt things. You're not going to do the immoral things. But just because we don't want to be in a war with Japan after Pearl Harbor doesn't mean we aren't in a war with Japan after Pearl Harbor. And you have to win that war to get back to a normal that you can live with. That's where we are right now in America. We have to fight these political fights. We have to win them, and we need to win them on Christian terms with Christian worldviews, or we are going to build an America that we don't want to live in, even if we win.
So
do we have Jeff back?
Yeah, Jeff. We didn't introduce him. We just went right into asking Jeff questions and everything. Jeff is the president and CEO of the Minnesota Family Council in Minnesota. Yeah, and you can follow them on X. Go to X and type in MN Family Council.
That's why he left us, because we didn't introduce him, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I have very thin skin like Toby.
That's true. And so Jeff is a former pastor, but also elder at the CREC Church in Twin Falls. Is it Christ Church?
Not Twin Falls.
Twin Falls,
No.
It's your
Twin Cities.
Twin Cities. So
Yeah.
so close. It's twin something.
Yeah.
What
Twin-
in the
Oh my
Twin
God.
Falls, Idaho. No, Twin Cities. And
running a
and now-
psyop on us.
yeah, now the CEO of Minnesota Family Council, Jeff. I'm looking at the latest up to date numbers going on in Minneapolis. It updated about 19 minutes ago, and it looks like Jacob Fry with 98% of the votes counted is winning at 41%.
Okay.
Is that what you have, Tim?
Yeah, but now it's ranked choice voting. So what were the voters for Hampton and for Davis?
Are
What
gonna
was
be
their second choice?
separated out.
Yeah, and if the second choice goes to Omar, then so it's
still not over.
No, it's not over. No,
Yeah.
no.
A
No,
normal
it-
election
it-
would be
so-
over.
Right. The next round goes to the tabulators.
Yeah.
So Tim, explain ranked choice voting for a minute, because I think that actually would be really helpful. 'cause-
Satanic.
Well, if you're walking on the
It's
sidewalk,
not was satanic. It's ranked choice voting.
here's my best. If you're walking on the sidewalk and you step in something and it smells really bad, that's ranked choice voting.
Ranked choice voting.
Yes.
No, so everybody's second choice comes into play. If the first choice doesn't get over 50% plus one,
Yeah.
which is what you need, then the second choices come into play, and the number eventually comes together until there's two candidates, and who's got the second choices that are added to the first choices, and then what do you got?
So when you go in to vote, you get your ballot. You can say, okay, my number one choice is
One,
Bob.
two,
My number two
yeah.
choice is Susie,
What?
and three. And,
So I mean, I know, like,
and then they
this
reproportion
has
those
been
votes
explained-
back out.
This has been explained to me before, but it's been a long time, and it's getting late. So that sounds like reasonable. When somebody pitches like ranked choice voting, that sounds reasonable, but I know it's not, but I can't remember why.
Well, because it's not one person versus one person. It's not his ideology versus his ideology,
Yeah.
his ideas versus his ideas.
It's the math.
And you can rig it so that
Explain to me like I'm 5.
Okay, so Omar, who has 32%, could conceivably win, even though
Yes.
Jacob's got 42%,
Right.
because ranked choice voting will take everybody else's votes
Right.
And proportion up.
and proportion them out.
Yeah.
Depending
A
on
second or third choice shouldn't determine a primary choice. We're a constitutional republic where you're represented by an idea by a person. So it's like you can't give second and third place and have that weight first place. It takes away from the single vote.
Jeff, how did you guys get there? What happened?
Well, we almost got there here. And they tried to do it here.
It's coming through
That's,
Michigan right now. It's coming through Michigan. They're
yeah.
going to be voting on it next year.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a long story. I can actually speak to all the details of how we got there, but I can just point out that it allows you to it's not just first and second vote, but it is your third vote as well. Like how do you rank your votes? And instead of having it just be a binary choice, you're able to at one time, somewhat efficiently say, oh, this is the order in which I would like these people. And there's an economy that's there, but and you don't have a binary choice. But at the same time, I mean, it's just, I don't think it's the way for us to go, and for so many different reasons. But you can see how people buy into it. It's just easy, just nice. I don't have to say, and this is not passive aggressive Minnesota nice. This is just across the country where we don't use active verbs. But nobody wants to oppose somebody. People just want to, like, I just prefer this a little bit more than that. And so it allows you, rather than have a binary, no, I'm standing for something and opposed to something else, it allows you an out. That said, I mean, with the options that are in front of Minneapolis as far as the mayor, the choices aren't that binary. It's sad to even say that. It sounds like it's a joke. It's not a joke.
Now that you say it, though, ranked choice voting is kind of Minnesotian. Really, it's like, we don't want to oppose anyone. Hey,
well, it is.
Okay.
But
everyone's
it's also
a winner.
Greg,
Everyone's
not too far, bro. I still got Minnesota in my blood,
Everyone's a
bro.
winner.
Come on, Greg. Greg, I don't
Little
want
League.
You know,
Ranked choice
you got
voting's
second
Little League.
place. Your phone counts, don't you
to.
know?
Greg,
Yeah,
I don't want to oppose you on this, but yeah.
That's funny.
Sorry, Jeff. Go ahead.
True. In one sense, there is something about Minnesota nice that we should own here in Minnesota. But I think it's also something just spiritually that's deep in us, rather than taking positions. And there are times to say, I don't know, or here are preferences. but rather than drilling down and saying, no, I believe this is right and this is wrong, or this is best and this is not, we like to give up with things like that. And I don't think that's the way for us to grow politically or, as a society and such. And Minnesota, I mean, to transition a little bit here, again, one of those loaded words, unfortunately, but it's a good word, transition a little bit. Minnesota is a testing ground for the entire country. All the things that have happened here in the last 5 years or so, there's a reason why Minnesota is being targeted. You could read a book called The Blueprint, which is about how Colorado became blue instead of red. And they replicated that model and imported it here to Minnesota, because if you can take Minnesota, you can run up and down the Midwest, go down all the way to Texas, and then you can change the political landscape of the country. And so a ton of money has come in for democratic causes, progressive causes here. But we are the tip of the spear. In some ways, we're more liberal than California. And in some ways, we have more possibilities and hope than California politically. It's a very much a battleground place with Scandinavian, Lutheran, Roman Catholic, and then eclectic evangelical churches throughout. And really, it's waking up all of them. Yeah.
Jeff, you've alluded to some signs of hope, and you've said there's some things there that you're seeing that are hopeful. Try to brighten our evening, despite your mayoral race. What are some of the bright spots that you're seeing there in Minnesota?
Well, I was starting to talk about it with the nations in our backyard. I like the odds of being able to show them the gospel and speak the gospel and contend for the gospel in the public square with all of the ethnic diversity, political divisions, and so forth. Christ is king. That's more solid than the law of gravity. I like my odds in that. That's number one.
I like my odds in that.
Is that I'm curious. I mean, is that not, I mean, a little bit like sending your kids to public schools? I guess, I believe in missions, but there's a difference between sending people on a mission field and knowing, like, okay, I'm going to go fight there and I'm invading, and being invaded by a completely uncontrollable immigration policy.
Oh, for sure. So two things that come to mind. This is not going to be comprehensive, what you're asking in the time that we have. But first of all, with kids going to public school, generally we're speaking about Baptistic culture, and I don't mean that in a pejorative way. When people are sending their kids into the public schools,
don't be offended, Rod.
We want them to be missionaries and so on. And I love to ask, well, don't you baptize your missionaries before you send them?
Yep.
Right. And I don't mean that in a rude way, but it's blunt. Like, let's not pretend that theological differences don't matter. And the second thing is that when you grow up and you're an adult, you stand your ground. Revelation 21 talks about the cowards not inheriting the kingdom. And so cowardice is actually among us right now. And I want nothing to do with cowardice. I want nothing to do with it. And that means personally my own sin. There's a lot I got to deal with. I got to face that down. But that also looks like facing out to the culture and such. And so people can move away from Minnesota, find a better place, and they can do it without cowardice. But I think there are a lot of people who think they're being shrewd, but they're just really being cowards. They run from a fight. We're not running from a fight here. And again, Jesus is king. So, and you can run to another place, but it will follow you. Minnesota is being picked out to be an example for the country. And I would love it to be an example. It's just like God to save a city or save a nation, and to do it in a way that you can't anticipate. So read Jonah. I love telling pastors this, right? Pump them up. Like, guys, look, Jonah has more faith than you that it's like God to save Nineveh, the bad boy on the block that nobody likes, threat to northern Israel. And because he has enough faith to believe that, he's able to sin boldly and go the opposite way. and God wins out. We don't even have the faith of Jonah to sin like him. That's how lame we are. Like, it's seriously.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Get after it, everybody.
Wow.
Game on, right?
We don't even
That's-
have the faith of Jonah to sin like Jonah.
Because Jonah believed God was going to bring Nineveh back.
He knew. It's like, if I go there and preach, God will
Nineveh's going to
save them.
repent.
That's hot. That's really good.
Tim's leaving. I just want to say thank you.
He's
Tim.
got to go to the clerk's office because the election's tight.
Okay.
One vote away. Hey,
ranked voting.
thank you, brother. Appreciate that. It was great having you. You're welcome back anytime.
Send us the results if you have results.
I got them.
Okay,
Hey,
good. All right, good.
hey, fellas, I got to take off too. I appreciate you so much for having me on. Let me hang with you guys. I enjoyed
Greg,
every time.
Every time, man.
Greg, any last words before you go? Anything on this, or are you good?
I'm good. You guys covered it. I really enjoy these live streams that you do. They're so awesome. And Rod, it's always good to see you, brother.
Okay, check out Dead Man Walking. Check out the podcast.
You can follow him on Dead Man Walking on Twitter.
Yes.
Dead Man Walking.
Okay, check him out. Appreciate you, Greg.
Hey, Jeff, are you going to stick around? Jeff, or you got to run too?
I can stick around for a few more minutes, and I want to get back to Toby's question though about positive things. So that the nation's in our backyard. Great. I don't have to travel around the world, even though it's easy to do nowadays, to actually minister to people. I think that's tremendous. I love it. Secondly, what I've been talking about, we're the pointy end of the spear right now in Minnesota. Great. 10,000 years from now, I want to be bragging around the throne of glory and grace. When people say, where were you? What did you do? I say, well, we were in Minnesota in this time. They say, that was crazy. And I want to be able to say, yeah, it was none of us. It was all of God.
Amen.
Amen. And I run into that just it's actually really deep, amazing stuff I could talk about at some point. Just how needy we are for the Lord. And then thirdly, I mean, Knox, you've seen this even back in the 90s, the broadly reformed eco-structure that's here in the cities. We actually like each other and we get along.
Yes.
And we rejoice together and we lean in together on stuff. And we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. And but I think the idolatry of politics, it's kind of like, and I don't want to make too much of this, and other people have talked this way too, but it's not unique to me. But in the Reformation, it's really the idolatry of the church and abuses of the church. It's not because the reformers don't want the church or don't have a high theology of the church. It's because they do have a high theology of the church that they want to reform it. I think the threat today is not some high theology or bloated theology of the church. It's a different institution. It's the state, and Republicans and Democrats both can kneel down to this. And there's a huge opportunity in our country, in our world, but especially Minnesota. That's exciting to me to call both sides or all sides, realize that the state makes a really crappy savior. But the state is a great servant when the state is told what is good. The state's to do what's good, right? Romans 13. But how are they going to know what's good unless Christians are speaking it and living it and showing it and involved in it? Like, the world will not find its way out of this dark alley, and you can't fault them for it. And so I actually have a lot of sympathy isn't the right word. The Lord has enlarged my heart. My tiny Grinch-like heart is enlarged to people like Senator Omar Fateh, who, this is going to be scandalous for you guys. The number of hugs that he and I have had just passing each other, like, hey, how are you doing? Give him a big hug. Talk about religion and politics. Like, he will actually engage in a serious conversation. And we disagree to the ground. And I think socialism is bad news. And, I got all sorts of credentials. I can talk about that. And yet he's a real person that there's a friendship that's there. That friendship doesn't mean I'm blind to the political realities.
Right.
And yet he is not, he doesn't run from me and from my team. He actually runs to us. And there's something to that. I'm not trying to bait a hook for him or anything like that, but he recognizes that there's something unique about what we do with the presence of Christ in the political square that is different than everybody else. And I want that for all Christians. Like, it seems like you guys have the words of life. Yeah, actually, we do.
Right.
Right.
That's really
and
good
I don't
stuff.
mean that in a mean,
No.
vindictive way. Yeah. And I've helped in a very minor kind of way. I've helped with Mayor Fry during COVID, early days of COVID. There was some stuff, and with our Governor Walls and so on. I want to pay respect where respect is proper, and I want to show honor where honor is due. I want to start with that, and then I do want to be critical, highly critical at times. I'm not. I don't want to pull punches when you throw a full punch.
Yeah.
At the same time, I don't think like this is one of the secret weapons of the Christian faith is we can actually show honor and respect and care for people who disagree with us in a giant way, and then actually have ground to disagree with them to the mats. And this is not some third way. This is just simply, it's living the Christian faith out. It's like anybody who's lost.
Charlie
Do crazy stuff. Yeah.
What'd you say, Rod?
It's what Charlie Kirk was doing.
Yeah.
Going and being respectful of people he completely disagrees with and having the conversation and converting a lot of them. But, but even when he didn't, converting a lot of the people in the audience.
Right. Right.
That's right.
Jeff, you're just making me think. I can't remember. I can't, how many times modern Christians have been like, oh, I'm Daniel in Babylon. I know how to be Daniel in Babylon, or I am Daniel in Babylon. I remember meeting with our former governor, Dirk Kempthorne, here in Idaho. I was out in D.C. and I met with him. And I always like to test our politicians and about their faith because they claim to be Christians and stuff. And I asked him, what's your favorite book of the Bible? And he said, Book of Daniel.
Yeah.
Book of Daniel. And I was like, well, where's the lion's den around you? Because he was a lobbyist now in DC. But you illustrate like you hugging Fatah and having a relationship. Fateh, having a relationship with Fateh, and that's probably one of the most complicated things as a Christian to sort through.
Right.
Is that kind of political relationship. And how to be, and so I mean, just put this back in the Bible. How to be Daniel in Babylon with King Nebuchadnezzar. How to be Daniel in Babylon when he supposedly shouldn't be praying, at the window. And how to be Daniel in Babylon with fighting, trying to separate himself just through dieting, just through a different diet, trying to separate himself as the people of God in the midst of Babylon.
Right.
I mean, you think about it, and at the same time, keeping the distinction as God's people while gaining the king's trust and loyalty, and so much so that the king makes him third in command in the nation.
Yeah.
So even after he resists the king's commands and everything. So in this, I would say this goes to, people we've had on the show and different.
But notice, I mean, the thing there that's really striking is that, I mean, Daniel was not like playing a political game.
Yeah.
Like, they're not playing political games, which is, I think, is what frequently happens. That's the third way thing. That's compromise.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're climbing a ladder, and you're like, it's sort of like you're trying to play this political game. And
hugging someone made in the image of God is not compromise.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But it's like, no, but like he was doing what he thought was right in the moment.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and whatever God does with this, he does with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like a willingness. I mean,
and
same
like, for Shadrach and
literally, like, willing to die. They're like, you can command us to do what you want, but we're not gonna bow down to your stupid statue.
Yeah.
And
if God will be done.
And you command me to not pray, I'm going home and I'm gonna pray. And it's like that's not a game. I'm gonna be obedient to God.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I'm gonna honor you. Your position, your office, I'm going to treat you with dignity and civility. I'm going to do what I can to bless you and see what I can to improve whatever you're doing for the actual good according to God. And when you tell me to do something that I'm not allowed to do, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to budge, and risking life and limb for that. I mean, that's not playing a political game. That's basically like, I serve Christ, and on my way, if I can help you and I can serve you, I'll do that. But as soon as you get in the way of me serving Christ, I'm not buckling. I'm not buckling at all.
Jeff, you got time to stick around still? Or I'm sorry, did I interrupt you? Go ahead.
Sure. No, I can. You can boot me whenever. I got.
No. I
countless
want you to
stories.
stick around
I'm
because
a preacher at heart. I just got all this
I
stuff.
see that. But yeah, I just wanted to get to Mandani's acceptance speech here because I paused it here and I just wanted to catch it. And I'm going to let you guys respond to it. Let's see if it plays here. Let's see if I get sound on this. Well,
yep, we got sound.
We got sound. Here we go.
Can we fast forward?
All right, here he is, live from Brooklyn, 34-year-old Zoran Mamdani, next mayor of New York City.
I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity.
That's a Marxist statement.
For as long as we can remember, the working people of New York have been told by the wealthy and the well-connected that power does not belong in their hands. Fingers bruised from lifting boxes on the warehouse floor, palms calloused from delivery bike handlebars, knuckles scarred with kitchen burns. These are not hands that have been allowed to hold power. And yet, over the last 12 months, you have dared to reach for something greater. Tonight, against all odds, we have grasped it. The future is in our hands. My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty.
Governor Cuomo.
No, America.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wish Andrew Cuomo only the best in private life. But let tonight be the final time I utter his name.
Wow.
As we turn the page on a politics that abandons the many and answers only to the few. New York, tonight you have delivered
a crowd volume.
a mandate for change. A mandate for a new kind of politics. A mandate for a city we can afford. And a mandate for a government that delivers exactly that. On January 1st, I will be sworn in as the mayor of New York City. And that is because of you. So before I say anything else, I must say this. Thank you. Thank you to the next generation of New Yorkers who refused to accept that the promise of a better future was a relic of the past. You showed that when politics speaks to you without condescension, we can usher in a new era of leadership. We will fight for you because we are you. Or as we say on Steinway, ana minkum wa ilaykum. Thank you to those so often forgotten by the politics of our city who made this movement their own. I speak of Yemeni bodega owners and Mexican abuelas, Senegalese taxi drivers and Uzbek nurses, Trinidadian line cooks and Ethiopian aunties. Yes, aunties. To
Call for
every New
appropriation.
Yorker in Kensington and Midwood and Hunts Point, know this. This city is your city, and this democracy is yours too. This campaign is about people like Wesley, an 1199 organizer I met outside of Elmhurst Hospital on Thursday night, a New Yorker who lives elsewhere, who commutes 2 hours each way from Pennsylvania because rent is too expensive in this city. It's about people like the woman I met on the BX 33 years ago, who said to me, I used to love New York, but now it's just where I live. And it's about people like Richard, the taxi driver I went on a 15-day hunger strike with outside of City Hall, who still has to drive his cab 7 days a week. My brother, we are in City Hall now.
That's a strong line. That's a strong line.
This victory is for all of them. And it's for all of you. The more than 100,000 volunteers who built this campaign into an unstoppable force. Because of you, we will make this city one that working people can love and live in again. With every door knocked, every petition signature earned, and every hard-earned conversation, you eroded the cynicism that has come to define our politics. Now, I know that I have asked for much from you over this last year. Time and again, you have answered my calls. But I have one final request. New York City, breathe this moment in. We have held our breath for longer than we know. We have held it in anticipation of defeat. Held it because the air has been knocked out of our lungs too many times to count. Held it because we cannot afford to exhale. Thanks to all of those who sacrificed so much, we are breathing in the air of a city that has been reborn. To my campaign team, who believed when no one else did, and who took an electoral project and turned it into so much more, I will never be able to express the depth of my gratitude. You can sleep now. To my parents, Mama and Baba, you have made me into the man I am today. I am so proud to be your son. And to my incredible wife, Rama, Hayati, there is no one I would rather have by my side in this moment and in every moment. To every New Yorker, whether you voted for me, for one of my opponents, or felt too disappointed by politics to vote at all, thank you for the opportunity to prove myself worthy of your trust. I will wake each morning with a singular purpose: to make this city better for you than it was the day before. There are many who thought this day would never come, who feared that we would be condemned only to a future of less, with every election consigning us simply to more of the same. And there are others who see politics today as too cruel for the flame of hope to still burn. New York, we have answered those fears. Tonight, we have spoken in a clear voice. Hope is alive. Hope is a decision that tens of thousands of New Yorkers made day after day.
I'm ready to go to bed.
Volunteer shift after volunteer shift, despite attack ad after attack ad. More than 1 million of us stood in our churches, in gymnasiums, in community centers, as we filled in the ledger of democracy. And while we cast our ballots alone, we chose hope together. Hope over tyranny. Hope over big money and small ideas. Hope over despair. We won because New Yorkers allowed themselves to hope that the impossible could be made possible.
We're about to find out.
And we won because we insisted that no longer would politics be something that is done to us. Now it is something that we do.
No, it's something we do to them.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right, Ryan.
Standing before you, I think of the words of Jawaharlal Nehru.
Who?
A moment comes but rarely in history when we step out from the old to the new, when an age ends and when the soul of a nation long suppressed finds utterance. Tonight we have stepped out from the old into the new. So let us speak now with clarity and conviction that cannot be misunderstood about what this new age will deliver and for whom. This will be an age where New Yorkers expect from their leaders a bold vision of what we will achieve, rather than a list of excuses for what we are too timid to attempt. Central to that vision will be the most ambitious agenda to tackle the cost of living crisis that this city has seen since the days of Fiorella LaGuardia. An agenda that will freeze the rents for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants.
So exciting.
Make buses fast and free.
Fast and free.
Universal child care across our city.
Oh,
well, here we go.
Now it gets me to
They call it great
Years
again.
from now, may our only regret be that this day took so long to come. This new age will be one of relentless improvement. We will hire thousands more teachers.
Oh boy.
We will cut waste from a bloated bureaucracy. We will work tirelessly to make lights shine again in the hallways of NYCHA developments where they have long flickered. Safety and justice will go hand in hand as we work with police officers to reduce crime and create a department of community safety that tackles the mental health crisis and homelessness crises
Jacobins.
head-on.
Jacobins.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Excellence will become the expectation across government, not the exception.
Nobody's gonna work.
In this new age we make for ourselves, we will refuse to allow those who traffic in division and hate to pit us against one another. In this moment of political darkness, New York will be the light. Here, we believe in standing up for those we love. Whether you are an immigrant, a member of the trans community, one of the many black women that Donald Trump has fired from a federal job.
Oh,
Single
golly.
mom still waiting for the cost of groceries to go down.
Did he vote for Winston Spears?
Or anyone else
Right.
with their back against the wall. Your struggle is ours too. And we will build a city hall that stands steadfast alongside Jewish New Yorkers and does not waver in the fight against the scourge of anti-Semitism.
Oh, that's rich.
That's hilarious.
That's
Where the
rich.
more than 1 million Muslims know that they belong.
Because Muslim and Jews
Not
get
just in
along.
the 5 boroughs of this city, but in the halls of power.
Oh boy.
No more will New York be a city where you can traffic in Islamophobia and win an election.
We're going to put the Bloods and the Crips next to each other.
Make them love each other.
Make them love each other. Muslims and Jews, Bloods and Crips.
This This new age will be defined by a
That's funny.
competence and a compassion that have too long been placed at odds with one another. We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about.
There we go.
God.
There we go. There's God right
For
there.
years, those in City Hall have only helped those who can help them. But on January 1st, we will usher in a city government that helps everyone. Now, I know that many have heard our message only through the prism of misinformation. Tens of millions of dollars have been spent to redefine reality and to convince our neighbors that this
Way
new
more than that.
age is something that should frighten them.
Come on.
As has so often occurred, the billionaire class has sought to convince those making $30 an hour that their enemies are those earning $20 an hour.
Oh, that's so communism, Marxism right
want
there.
the people to fight amongst ourselves so that we remain distracted from the work of remaking a long broken system.
Man.
We refuse to let them dictate the rules of the game anymore. They can play by the same rules as the rest of us.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Together, we will usher in a generation of change. And if we embrace this brave new course, rather than fleeing from it, we can respond to oligarchy and authoritarianism with the strength
With
it
greater
fears, not the
oligarchy and
appeasement it
authoritarianism.
craves.
Right.
After all, if anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him, it is the city that gave rise to him.
Wait, what?
The city that gave
And
rise
if
to
there is
the
any way to
doesn't
terrify
work.
a despot, it is by dismantling the very conditions that allowed him to accumulate power.
You don't like despots?
This is not only how we stop Trump, it's how we stop the next one. So, Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
That was brilliant. That was brilliant.
Not 4 words in Arabic though.
Okay, do we have to keep watching? Okay, okay.
Because the Donald Trumps of our city have.
Are we done?
I think that's good. I think we got the
Jeff,
point.
I'm gonna give you the first stab at the. You want to say anything in wrapping this up? That's how we're gonna end it.
And then Rod, we're coming to you.
I mean, it's late, and so I mean, can I use salty language? Is that okay? It is November. For
You are.
No quarter November.
Can Minnesotans
That's
use
right.
salty language?
Well,
Don't you know?
I'm not naturally from Minnesota, so I've got other things going on in my blood. It's interesting how there are a lot of things to say, and I'm trying to be too snarky here, but amazing how he kicks the stool underneath the Democrats who have gone before him. Like it's like he has the bold new vision. Isn't that always the case with a progressive kind of mindset? What was progressive before is not good enough, and so here's the salty comment. He puts the FU in future. So, and everybody will see that, unfortunately.
Yep. Yeah.
That's the contribution. But this is the problem with, again, not to make it just about Democrats, Republicans, when we get wiser than God, we think that like we've got a master plan. The future is ours. We're grasping it. Guess what? It's not just reality, but the sovereign one has a way of showing you that you don't hold the future and your plans are not enough. And people will suffer, unfortunately, underneath this. And I'm sure there'll be some decent things, some good things. We can't turn a blind eye to that. But when we say we can do this without God, it's like, hold my beer, watch this. And that's right. What we're getting here, which is just sad. It's really sad.
Well, and I guess what kind of just blows my mind, maybe I'm just so, I don't know, naive or just want to think better of others. But like socialism never has worked. Never. Like no one's moving.
This time will be different, Gabe. Come on. This time is different.
I would differ with that just slightly.
Please.
Hasn't worked in the sense of what it promises.
Yeah.
It promises to deliver prosperity for all. It promises to alleviate poverty. It promises to democratize the means of production. None of that is true. But it does concentrate power in a new elite run, in this case, by Zoran Mandami. So, it works. It works brilliantly. And you see it everywhere. Pol Pot concentrated power. He ruled as a god. And so did Mao. And so did Stalin. And so did Chavez. And so did Castro. This is the purpose of socialism. And socialism is really pretty clear on that point, honestly. It's only those who listen to the propaganda of it rather than theory of and practice of it that misunderstand that. Anyway, yes, you're exactly right. He totally threw a century of Democrats, a century and a half of Democrats under the bus. And it is because they are always grasping the future. And whatever went before is terrible. So Bill Clinton is kind of persona non grata now. Hillary is an embarrassment. If Obama weren't still pulling the strings of the Democratic Party, he would be passé because he ran twice against gay marriage. And, that's unforgivable. Give it 20 years and they won't forgive Obama for that. He will be passé too.
That's right.
And they will move on. Whatever is past is bad in their view.
So, Rod, I have to ask you, and you're probably the right person to answer this. I know this is a fallacy, but work with me for a moment here. Which one won tonight ultimately, Islam or Marxism?
Marxism, definitely.
You think Marxism swallow up Islam?
Absolutely. Now, in the long run, Christ is going to swallow up everything. So
got that. Yeah, that's right.
About the eschatological aspect of that. But no, in the American context, there are only so many Muslims, and Zoran is not going to be successful in converting large numbers of New Yorkers to that. Also, there's still an FBI, and there's still state police in New York. He's not going to be able to go on a jihad. He's not going to be able to do a lot of the things he would do if he were in Gaza running that. So, what can he do? Well, he can double down on power. So, the Marxists win, and they're going to try to make New York, and he told you tonight, he's going to try to make it a show place that takes the battle to Trump, that displaces everything that we've been trying to get done. Okay, well, I can live with that. Do your best. Let's have that debate. Let's look at what California looks like today versus what Florida looks like today. Let's look at what New York looks like today versus what Miami is going to look like in another 4 years. And we're going to win that. What we have to do is remember that just winning on that intellectual level is not enough. You actually have to organize. You actually have to get on the ground and get it done. And, earlier, I don't remember who said it, but somebody was talking about, I don't remember who. Somebody was talking about how we now have a ground game, and we're actually good at that. And that's true. I don't think people grasp just how long that was not true. The Republican ground game ceased to exist in 1930. And even in 1991, I was yelled at by a senior official at the Republican National Committee for suggesting that we might walk precincts. She was just horrified.
Wow.
Why, we tried that one time and it didn't work. Like, the unions are doing it every year. I'm sorry, and of course she lived in Northern Virginia, which was permanently red in her view. And, we have come a long way, but we haven't come a long enough way. We don't win consistently. We're going to have to get serious about drawing that contrast, not being afraid, No quarter November, 12 months out of the year. But we're also going to have to do the hard work on the ground, and there's no getting around it.
I appreciated what you said earlier, Rod. I mean, that we are at I want to say this clearly and carefully, but politics is a kind of war. And so you were making that point earlier, and you were saying if we want to win, we actually have to fight. And obviously, we need to fight morally, we need to fight constitutionally and so forth. But we haven't treated it like the war that it is, and I think that's why we are in the place that we are, and that's why many of the places where we've lost ground, because we've back to what Tim said earlier at the beginning of the night, we opted for the nice guy in the tie, and the nice tie. Yeah, winsomeness and compromise, and we didn't think of it in terms of fighting for our kids, fighting for our children. This is, and you mentioned this earlier, Rod, but I know we have a lot of people still on the stream, but this is why we're doing this next year's Fight Laugh Feast conference.
Absolutely.
On holy war.
That's right.
And we know that's a loaded term. We chose it on purpose because we actually want to talk about the whole gamut of the various ways in which we are called to battle. That includes just wars. When are we actually called to actual war? When are we called to defend ourselves, self-defense, the duty we have to protect our families? But then, of course, in order to be the kind of man who can actually defend your family, who can actually go to war in a just way, you have to be a man who's practicing justice and fighting sin in your own life. The whole gamut is absolutely necessary. That's why Fight Laugh Feast 2026 is on Holy Wars. We're going to be back in the Nashville area. You can go to fightlaughfeast.com, flfnetwork.com, and register. Like Rod told you to.
Early bird prices.
Yes, like I did. And you're exactly right, Toby. I know I just shock you that I agree with you. But there's another aspect of that, which is we have elections precisely so we don't have to have wars.
Right.
We have elections so that we can peacefully overthrow our government every 2 to 4 years.
Right.
We have these things precisely so we can have these grand debates. And then, if that doesn't work out, we get to undo it. And when you take that away, when you start having massive electoral fraud, when you have systems where the people cannot actually express their wishes through the ballot box, such as, we're talking about ranked choice voting, which to the best of my knowledge has never worked to the benefit of a conservative. But, there are other similar things like the jungle primary in California, which results most of the time in 2 Democrats running for the same office on the general election ballot. And the parties don't actually get to choose their own nominee, which means actually the Republicans don't get to choose their own nominee. The Democrats do just fine because they rigged the system. It's a legal rigging, but it's a rigging nonetheless. And all of these things lead to a situation where eventually one side, specifically the side that has a history of violence, starts becoming violent, starts seeing the opportunity to have a real revolution. And we've seen that kind of violence in the streets now, for a long time, but especially the last 5 years. Cities being burned down, people like Charlie Kirk getting assassinated, all these school shootings by trans shooters, all these leftists, let's just shoot the entire Republican baseball team, congressional baseball team. We're seeing this rise of political violence and the recognition of political violence as a legitimate tool of politics, precisely because we're dealing with people who largely don't respect that point, that elections matter, that free speech is essential, and that freedom is good. They don't want freedom. They want to rule us. And that's why politics has to be treated seriously, especially in the next few cycles.
Yeah.
Rod, it is 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
12:15 your time, and
It's
you are still
11:15 for Jeff.
and you still got 4 more hours in you. I can feel it.
Yeah.
Just feel it. And Jeff, it's over there. It's 11 o'clock your time, right? If I remember correctly, and you guys are just fired up. I'm so grateful to have both of you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate you both.
I just want to say one quick thing about Mandani. His foot shall soon slip too.
Yeah.
Right, like that's God's world. It's the way He designed it to work. Right. Stupidity over time does not breed success. Covenant faithfulness over time does.
Yeah.
Like that's just the reality of the world, and that's one of the things that us as Christians can take comfort in.
Right,
it's like it might be a little bumpy. God knows what He's doing. You stay faithful, and their end will be like Janus and Jambres, right? Like that's how it's gonna go. You stay faithful, continuing the thing that God told you to do, and their foot shall soon slip as well. I want to thank everybody who's been with us. We've had a couple thousand people join us on the live stream. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We will be back next week. What's today? Oh no, we'll be back Thursday. Thursday. The show will be back Thursday. And we'll see you guys then. So if you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. If you have kids, go baptize them. Until Thursday, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is CrossPolitic.